starting from Douluo, shocking all the worlds. Greetings, fellow multiversal adventurers. It's an honor to have you back in this saga that has us all hooked. Official channel statement: this story is 100% epic fiction. So please don't attempt real magic, the results aren't guaranteed and insurance won't cover it. The rights to this masterpiece belong entirely to its brilliant original author. We are just a barge sharing it with you. Do you want to keep being part of this amazing community? Join our ninja army of subscribers on YouTube and give this content a like. And for true fans, our Patreon has exclusive ninjutsu waiting for you. Chapter 301 Identity Disclosure. Faced with Jin Ringsu's sudden change of words, Kinming was completely caught off guard. Although he really wanted to bring the topic back to himself, telling the other party that he was currently working in Shrek Academy. But who made him talk so cheap just now? In order to cover up his embarrassment because of the other party's beauty, he asked the other party to repeat the question. It turns out that it's alright now. The beauty stopped asking about your situation, and directly brought the topic to another man. And this man is still a strong opponent. That Kinming can't raise his competitive spirit no matter what. For a moment, Kinming couldn't help thinking of what Dean Flender had said to him back then. I really can't think about it anymore. Finally, Kinming couldn't help but take a deep breath, completely dispelling the last trace of fantasy left in his heart. His eyes fell on Jin Ringsu again. He shook his head and regretfully said, if Mr. Zhu Jin had come earlier, you might still have met Tang Ge. But now, because he no longer participated in the promotion competition, he had already left the academy half an hour ago. As for where he went, I don't know, but maybe the dean knows. Not in college? Hearing Kinming's words, Jin Ringsu fell silent. After a while, she looked at Kinming, her beautiful eyes full of expectation, and said, then can you take me to see the dean? Okay, I'll take you there. Kinming originally wanted to refuse because of something. Feeling Jin Ringsu's beautiful eyes shining like stars, the uncontrollable words that came to his lips turned into green to the other party. For a while, Kinming couldn't open his mouth even if he wanted to regret it. He could only leave here with the other party, and went to where Dean Flender was. It's just that when Kinming turned around, he didn't notice Jin Ringsu, who was behind him with a cold expression on his face, and the corners of his mouth were slightly curled up, revealing a vague smile. Shrek Academy office. Flender and Uzaya Gang, who just came back from the woods, are arranging the affairs of the academy, preparing to take Tang San, Daimyo Bei, and the others to the place where the promotion match will be held in a while. Because the promotion competition this time is fully enclosed and there are no spectators, the Empire has prepared military tents for the contestants arriving from various places in advance. But at this moment, along with a knock on the door, Kinming's voice came from outside. Are you there, Dean? Okay? Why did Kinming come here? Hearing Kinming's voice, Flender was a little surprised, but he and Uzaya Gang stopped discussing and let the other party come in directly. It's just that when the office door was closed, besides Kinming, there was also a beautiful girl in a golden palace dress. Seeing this beautiful girl, Flender was taken aback for a moment, then asked uncertainly, Teacher Zukian, Dean Flender, long time no see. The beautiful girl is Jin Ringsu. When she heard Flender's words, a bright smile appeared on her face. I'm Zukian. It turned out to be Zukian. After receiving Jin Ringsu's confirmation, Flender couldn't help being amazed. He didn't expect this mysterious teacher who joined Shrek Academy for Tang Ge to reappear after 2 years. He seems to remember that 2 years ago, he was already a soul sage. Thinking of this, Flender couldn't help being curious in his heart, and asked again. May I take the liberty to ask, what is the level of your soul power, Mr. Zujin? After 2 years of hard work, you can reach the realm of Contra. Jin Ringsu did not hide, and said softly. But when she said this, her beautiful eyes revealed a touch of helplessness, as if she was very dissatisfied with her current strength. It's just that after hearing this, Flender felt ashamed of himself, feeling that his age was really wasted. But it was Kinming who suffered more than him. Because he who thought he was a genius suddenly found that he was not only inferior to Tang Ge, but also far from Zujin. For a while, Kinming, whose self-confidence was hit, was afraid that Dean Flender would continue to talk about this topic, so he hurriedly interrupted with a wry smile. Dean, Teacher Zukian is here to find Tang Ge. She wants to ask you where Tang Ge has gone. Do you need to talk too much? Of course I know that Teacher Zukian must be looking for Tang Ge when he came to the academy, so he wouldn't let Tang Ge not look for you. The topic was interrupted, and Flender immediately gave Qin Ming a hard look. Qin Ming, come on, even the headmaster started to look down on him. Considering that if he stayed any longer, he might have to find a hole to get into and face the face of others, so Qin Ming hurriedly resigned and fled the place of right and wrong. Seeing the student Qin Ming leave, Flender couldn't help but think to himself, boy, don't blame the dean. The dean said this for your own good. Immediately, a smile appeared on his face again, and his eyes moved to Jinriksu. Have to say, Tang Ge's charm is really strong. Besides Rong's three little girls, there is actually such a beautiful and strong girl who always remembers him. It would be great if it was replaced by myself. After feeling deeply in his heart, Flender said, although Tang Ge didn't say where he was going when he left, but based on my understanding of him, he should go back to Soto City first. If Teacher Zukian is looking for him, why not go to Suado City first? Maybe you can meet Tang Ge there. As for inviting Teacher Zukian to watch the game, I won't say anything. I know you won't stay, so hurry up and chase Tang Ge now. Hey. As I get older and older, I suddenly feel a little envious of you young people. Speaking of this, Flender couldn't help but sigh as if thinking of his own experience when he was young. And after Jinriksu got the answer she wanted, a pair of beautiful eyes full of anticipation immediately lit up. She didn't continue to ask, and after saying goodbye to Flender and Uzaya Gang, she left Shrek Academy directly, and flew towards Soto City with her martial spirit as fast as she could. It's just that as soon as Jinriksu left, the smile on Flender's face suddenly disappeared. He looked aside Uzaya Gang, who had been stunned since Jinriksu appeared, and spoke with a frown. Zio Gang, haven't you met Teacher Zukian? But looking at you now, is there something wrong with Teacher Zukian? Hearing Flender's question, Uzaya Gang finally recovered after taking a deep breath. He said with a heavy voice, at the earliest time, when I saw this Teacher Zukian, I had a vague feeling that I had seen him somewhere, but I couldn't remember it. But just now, when she appeared in front of me wearing that elegant long dress, a figure who was very similar to her in both temperament and appearance suddenly appeared in my mind. Speaking of this, Uzaya Gang's voice became trembling as some past experiences were recalled again. Flender couldn't help being even more curious, and couldn't help asking, who is it, the Pope of Wuhandian, Bibi Dong? After a while, Uzio said this sentence slowly. Just now ask for a monthly pass. End of this chapter. Chapter 302. What a coincidence, we meet again. Wu. Pope of the Wuhan Palace? Bibi Dong? When Uzio Gang uttered this name that made countless soul masters afraid, Flender, who was originally full of curiosity, was so frightened that he stood up directly from his chair. He couldn't help but widen his eyes, and looked at Uzio Gang with a shocked expression. Zio Gang, are you saying that Teacher Zukian is Bibi Dong, your old lover? Flender, don't talk nonsense. Hearing Flender mention the word old lover, Uzio Gang's eyelids jumped uncontrollably, and he gave him a hard look. Knowing that he had said the wrong thing, Flender couldn't help but smile embarrassingly. Zio Gang, don't be angry. What I mean is that you know that person. Are you sure that Teacher Zukian is really that person? If it's that person, do you think we can still sit here safe and sound? Regarding Flender's random guess, Uzio Gang couldn't help but snorted coldly, and asked back. Then he spoke again, if I'm not mistaken, this mysterious Zukian is not only from the Spirit Hall, but also the legendary young master who seldom shows up. At the same time, she is also the daughter of Pope Bibi Dong of the current Wuhan Hall, a genius who inherited the top-level Wuhan Seraphim of the angel family and has an innate soul power of level, ! Her name is Jinriksu, the young master of Wuhan Hall, Pope Bibi Dong's daughter. A genius who was born with a soul power of level, and possessed a top martial spirit seraph. When Uzio Gang uttered these words representing identity and glory, even Flender, who is already a contra cultivation level, couldn't help but gasped. He had indeed thought about Zujin before. No, it should be Jinriksu's extraordinary background, but he did not expect that the other party would be the daughter of the Pope of the Wuhan Palace, who stands at the top of the continent. Jinriksu. Zukian. It's a pity because I don't know much about Wuhandian, otherwise Flender should have thought of this a long time ago. But at this moment, he finally realized suddenly, and finally understood why Jinriksu, who was disguised as Zukian, could practice so fast. Poor Qin Ming, who dared to grab Bibi Dong's daughter's attention, isn't he afraid of death? Thinking of this, Flender also thought of the relationship between Jinriksu and Tang Ge. For a moment, he couldn't help showing worry on his face, and said to Yu Zhiagang, "Zhiagang, then you think Tang Ge knows the real identity of the Pope's daughter? And even if Tang Ge's talent is outstanding, how could this Pope's daughter know Tang Ge and still remember Tang Ge after 2 years? Could it be that she knew Tang Ge's true strength, and took this opportunity to get close to Tang Ge, with the intention of pulling Tang Ge into the Wuhan Hall?" The more he thought about it, the more worried Flender became. At this moment, he even wanted to catch up with Tang Ge, who had left before Jinringsu, and then tell Tang Ge about Jinringsu's true identity. In case this kid accidentally fell into a beauty trap, he might sell himself without knowing it. As if seeing Flender's thoughts, Yu Zhiagang smiled and shook his head directly. "Flender, don't you know that kid after so long? From my point of view, that kid is really clever. Maybe he knows Zhu Jin's true identity before us all. And even if he didn't know, how could he be in danger with his current strength?" When Yu Zhiagang said this, the eyes of Flender, who was still worried, not only suddenly lit up, but he couldn't help laughing and slapped his thigh directly. "Ha ha ha, Zhiagang, you are right, I am really worrying. According to that boy Tang Ge's personality, it's fine if he doesn't take advantage of others, but it's as difficult as heaven for others to take advantage of him. On the contrary, I expect this kid to win Teacher Zuqian, who is the daughter of the Pope of Wuhan Temple. If Teacher Zuqian succeeds the new Pope in the future, wouldn't I, Flender, be the teacher of the Pope's target? No, I have to remind that boy Qin Ming again, and he must not be confused again." After speaking, Flender couldn't wait to leave the office. Suddenly, only Yu Zhiagang was left here. Originally, his wry smile immediately became serious as Flender left. As Flender said just now, although Jinringsu concealed her real identity, the fact that she was in contact with Tang Ge will not change. If you add Tang Ge's monstrous talent, maybe even Pope Ibidong of the Wuhan Palace knew about the relationship between Jinringsu and Tang Ge. Not only will she not stop the two, but she will try her best to bring them together. In this way, Wuhandian will have one more powerful soul master who will far surpass title Douluo in the future. At that time, there will be no force in the entire continent that can stop Wuhandian's ambitions. And this is not what Yu Zhiagang is really worried about. In fact, what he is most worried about is Tang San's affairs, because Tang San's father has an irreconcilable hatred with Wuhandian. And after Tang San knew about this in the future, he would definitely have hostility towards Spirit Hall. So once Tang Ge joins Wuhandian, how will the two of them as classmates face this kind of problem? Will they ignore each other, or will they turn against each other? Yu Zhiagang didn't dare to think about it, and didn't want to continue thinking about it. He could only sigh softly, and muttered to himself, "I hope that if these two are still on the opposite side one day, they can still remember the love of the same village and the friendship of classmates." Time passed quickly, and a day passed in the blink of an eye. After leaving Shrek Academy, Tang Ge, who didn't know what happened afterwards, even though he didn't rush with all his strength, he returned to Soto City and Barak Kingdom that night while stopping and going. If he hadn't met the Soul Masters of Barak Academy who were going to compete in Xiandao City on the way back, Tang Ge was in a good mood and took care of these Soul Masters by the way. Originally, he wanted to abolish all the participating Soul Masters and teachers in the entire Barak Academy, but after thinking about it, he should leave it to Tang San, Mu Bai and other students to solve it. It just so happens that the other party's miserable appearance can also be a clown show in the Soul Master arena. However, due to this delay, Tang Ge slowed down his journey. Otherwise, he could have reached Soto City earlier. And by coincidence, at night, Tang Ge couldn't wait to go straight to the Suochuo Spirit Arena when he thought that he still had his long-legged girl Tinkerbell in Suochuo City. It was just when he arrived outside the Great Soul Fighting Arena and was about to enter it. Suddenly there was a girl's voice that was cold but mixed with a hint of joy. "Tang Ge, you are in such a hurry to go in. Is there anyone waiting for you inside, okay?" Such a familiar voice. Hearing this girl's voice, Tang Ge was puzzled and turned around involuntarily. But when he saw the figure slowly approaching 7 or 8 meters away, a stunned expression appeared on his face, and he couldn't help blurting out, "What a coincidence. Why are you here? Yeah, what a coincidence, we meet again." When the visitor walked up to Tang Ge and looked at this handsome young man who had always occupied an important position in his heart, he couldn't help but lick his thin red lips, and suddenly showed a bright smile. Asked for a monthly pass. End of this chapter. Chapter 303 Wonderful Night Battle. Tang Ge's soul trembled as a scent of fragrance came rushing towards his face, and he suddenly recovered from his stupefaction. He looked at the woman he hadn't seen for a long time before him, and never thought that she would appear outside the big soul fighting arena in Soto City. What a coincidence. According to this situation, the other party had obviously guessed that he would come to the Soto Great Spirit Arena. Could it be that Ding Dong's incident has already been revealed? Thinking back to the words said when the woman just appeared, Tang Ge immediately gave up his previous plan. He laughed and grabbed the other party's tender white hand directly, regardless of whether the other party agreed or not. He pulled the other party towards the busiest area of Soto City. Ha, I haven't seen you for several years, I miss you so much. Now that we meet again today, I can't let you leave easily. Let's go, take you to eat delicious food first, and then talk about why you left without saying goodbye. It made me sad for a while. That's right, the woman who suddenly appeared here is Jin Ringsu. After learning from Flender that Tang Ge might come to Soto City, as the young master of the Wuhan Palace, she used her identity to investigate the people and places related to Tang Ge in Soto City. As a result of this investigation, Jin Ringsu really discovered that a woman named Ding Dong in the Suachual Great Soul Arena had a relationship with Tang Ge. And this woman is just an ordinary person. For a moment, Jin Ringsu directly thought of making this woman disappear. But in the end, because of Tang Ge's feelings, she still didn't do it. Jin Ringsu understood that the moment the other party occupied an important position in her heart, she was no longer the cold and ruthless young master of Wuhan Hall. So at this moment, even when she found out that Tang Ge wanted to cover up the topic, Jin Ringsu was not angry. A smile appeared on her delicate pretty face, and she let the other party take her hand and left here, like a docile little daughter-in-law. All of a sudden, the eyes of passers-by who saw these two handsome men and women who seemed to have jumped out of a painting all showed envy in their eyes, late at night. Outside Soto City, in a deserted forest. At this time when he was supposed to be sleeping comfortably on the big soft bed, Tang Ge was called to this wilderness by Jin Ringsu. Feeling the biting cold wind blowing, he looked at Jin Ringsu, who was wearing a golden palace dress, and said helplessly, "Can't we change the day? Must it be tonight? I've heard about your performance in the Soul Master competition, so I want to confirm again. I haven't seen you in the past 2 years. How big is the gap between me and you?" Jin Ringsu's beautiful eyes glowed with splendor. But having said that, she already knew about Tang Ge's defeat of Douluo Yuguan from Salis. For Tang Ge's formidable strength, Jin Ringsu was amazed but couldn't help feeling joyful. Only such a genius can be worthy of her. The reason why she still wants to challenge Tang Ge now is that Jin Ringsu has no desire to win, but simply wants to lose to the opponent. And as if thinking of something shy, her pretty face flushed slightly. But soon, Jin Ringsu calmed down. Without waiting for Tang Ge's consent, she released her martial soul and soul ring directly hum. The space trembled slightly. And a strong sacred and bright atmosphere instantly filled the forest. The originally dark night was also directly illuminated. Under the shroud of light, Jin Ringsu, who had cast her martial spirit, suddenly turned into a seraph who seemed to descend from the god realm. After her noble temperament was revealed, she was immediately sacred and inviolable. Around her, there were 2 yellow, 2 purple and 4 black soul rings moving up and down. The dazzling light made Tang Ge, who had retreated more than 10 meters away, squint his eyes slightly. Are they all contras with 4 10,000-year soul rings? When he was surprised, Tang Ge didn't intend to be suppressed by a woman just like that. So seeing that Jin Ringsu didn't even hide his strength, he also smiled lightly, showing off his martial spirit and spirit ring without hesitation hum. As the map of mountains, rivers and society emerged, the beautiful scenery of mountains and rivers swayed on the picture scroll, and the field of mountains and rivers immediately covered a radius of, meters. Under Tang Ge's feet, there were jet black 10,000-year spirit rings rising up one after another. After the 6th soul ring belonging to him appeared, the golden light that was originally rendered by Jin Ringsu's martial soul was suddenly reopened, and a dazzling red light appeared, filled, 10-year soul ring. When these 2 abilities that even titled Douluo had envied and yearned for were concentrated on Tang Ge, who was only 14 years old, even Jin Ringsu couldn't help but look sideways at him, and her heart was suddenly filled with shock. How did he do that? Jin Ringsu, who is well aware of Tang Ge's identity and background, feels extremely inconceivable that Tang Ge has come this far after not seeing him for 2 years. But at the same time as she was shocked, the light in her eyes became brighter filled. She has it too. Immediately after, Jin Ringsu directly used the 7th soul skill, Wuhan Avatar. Behind her first a Seraph Phantom appeared, and then the Seraph Phantom stepped forward and merged with her instantly. Suddenly, a more dazzling golden light burst out from Jin Ringsu's body. In the end, her clothes were torn apart, and her whole body was completely enveloped in golden light from head to toe, turning into a pure golden figure. Tang Ge, use your strongest soul skills. Immediately afterwards, a cold sound echoing like ice cubes hitting together came from the mouth of Jin Ringsu, who had turned into a golden figure. After the angel domain was used, the meter mountain and river domain originally used by Tang Ge was directly filled with gold. Being in the area where these two domains overlap, Tang Ge actually felt that his soul power had a tendency to be melted. But under the control of his martial soul, this feeling was quickly suppressed. Seeing that Jin Ringsu had made a real move, Tang Ge did not hesitate any longer, and then activated his 6th soul ability. Amidst the dazzling red glow, only the sound of tearing was heard, and the clothes on Tang Ge's body were directly shattered into pieces. His completely naked body swelled extremely rapidly, transforming from the height of a normal person into a giant nearly 30 meters tall in the blink of an eye. And more than 10 meters away, Jin Ringsu, who was floating in mid-air and completely rendered golden, was just at the same level as Tang Ge's face. At this moment, the comparison between the two is like Beauty and the Beast. Tang Ge, who had turned into a giant, saw Jin Ringsu who looked like a pocket beauty in his eyes, and an inexplicable excitement was aroused in his heart. Coupled with a majestic power filling all parts of his body, he couldn't help opening his mouth and let out a deafening roar. Accompanied by the catharsis of terror, Tang Ge's roar directly set off a powerful wave of anger. This wave of air centered on Tang Ge, like a turbulent sea, suddenly and continuously rushed towards all directions. End of this chapter. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 304 Deeper in Intense Communication and Combat. Accompanied by a deafening roar, the astonishing airwave not only broke through the sacred light that was eroding the realm of mountains and rivers, but also caused Jin Ringsu's golden hair to dance in the wind. The golden light fluttered behind her, directly bringing out a long golden belt. However, not only did Jin Ringsu, who used her martial spirit avatar, not take a step back, but after seeing Tang Ge who had turned into a giant, she turned into golden light and charged forward. The distance of more than 10 meters is reached in an instant. The moment she appeared above Tang Ge's head, she immediately raised her hands and condensed an angel sword. Then the sword fell down with Jin Ringsu's arms, and slashed down fiercely. Terrifying power erupted, and a popping sound resounded from the instantly squeezed space. A vacuum was even cut out. It's just that under Tang Ge's perception, Jin Ringsu's sword is the most powerful, but it doesn't have any killing intent. So while laughing, he then raised his right hand and turned his palm to the sky, as if trying to drag the fallen sky up again, and went straight to the angel sword in Jin Ringsu's hand. Rumble. Rumble. Finally, when Tang Ge's right hand came into contact with the angel sword, a dazzling golden light suddenly burst out. Accompanied by the deafening explosion, the aftermath of the terrifying power once again formed a powerful shock wave and continuously impacted outward. Wherever this shock wave passed, the trees within a radius of, meters were instantly reduced to dust. The trees farther away were snapped and fell to the ground following click and click. And at the center where Tang Ge and Jin Ringsu were, the golden light that soared into the sky not only illuminated the night, but also engulfed their figures. Rumble. Rumble. The silent night was completely broken, and the lights of Soto City, which was tens of miles away, were instantly brightened. Countless residents who had been awakened by the previous roar were also frightened that they got up from the bed and rushed out of the room quickly. In the courtyard, in the attic, and on the quiet street, people suddenly gathered together. These alarmed residents all looked at the golden light illuminating the night outside the city, their faces full of shock. And many soul masters who still remembered the shocking battle outside Suachuo City became even more panicked when they felt the oppressive aura wafting from the air. What happened? What happened? Could it be that the two titled Douluo fought outside the city again? Let's hope they don't go straight to Soto City. Amidst the apprehension and worry, the people in the whole city couldn't easily fall asleep. Not to mention no one has the idea of going out of the city to find out joke. That kind of fighting atmosphere can still make people in the city feel palpitations even tens of miles away. Isn't it self-defeating to go to see it? Even in the end, even the city lord personally came forward, not only expressly prohibiting the Soul Master from going to the place where the incident happened, but also ordering the soldiers to guard against death, not letting anyone leave the city. As for him, he stayed on the city wall all night until dawn, and he dared not leave until he was sure that no titled Douluo would lead the war to Soto City. In the mountains and forests bursting with explosions, the diffuse golden light lasted for a long time before it slowly receded. In the center, the dense trees were completely gone, and the surrounding area of meters was razed to the ground. A huge monster is standing here, and it is Tang Ge who has performed the incarnation of the giant spirit god. At this moment, after he defeated the angel sword, his raised right hand had been lowered and placed in front of his eyes, and a golden light shone brightly in his lightly held hand. But immediately the bright golden light receded quickly, revealing a blonde beauty whose whole body was as clean as jade. Tang Ge felt a warmth from the palm of his hand. There was a scorching light in his eyes. He stared at the blonde beauty in his palm, and said with a smile, "What? Just admit defeat like this." The blonde beauty is none other than Jinrixu. Facing Tang Ge's ridicule, although she still had a lot of means to use, she had no intention of winning this battle before she did it. So when she left the terrifying dragon head under the young man in front of her, Jinrixu couldn't help but her heart fluttered, and her pretty face instantly turned red. But immediately, her thin red lips parted slightly, and she uttered words that even Tang Ge was stupefied. "Admit defeat? If you can conquer me from body to mind, I, Jinrixu, will truly conquer you." Facing Tang Ge, Jinrixu revealed her real name for the first time. But Tang Ge didn't care much about the name, because he already knew that at the moment he was just thinking about what Jinrixu just said. From body to mind? Conquer her? Is it to say? As if trying to understand something, Tang Ge suddenly moved his face directly in front of Jinrixu, and the hot breath he exhaled hit Jinrixu's body, making her exposed skin turn red. Her beautiful eyes began to be full of confusion. Faced with Jinrixu's appearance, the corners of Tang Ge's mouth curled up involuntarily. He couldn't help but whisper proudly, "Little beauty, if you say that, do you want to have a more in-depth and intense exchange with me besides fighting? Are you afraid?" Jinrixu's pretty face became more and more charming. Feeling the force of breaking free from his hand, Tang Ge didn't stop it, but let go of his hand directly and let Jinrixu and his hand escape. As soon as she floated into the air, Jinrixu directly canceled the golden light covering her whole body, completely revealing her entire delicate body. Seeing this, Tang Ge couldn't help but also lowered his head to look at himself, but he was also confused. So, when a man and a woman are in the wilderness, and it is a dark day, how can the man conquer the woman from body to soul? Tang Ge didn't need to ask any more questions. Facing Jinrixu, who was already so proactive, he felt that if he hesitated any longer, he would really be a man. So Tang Ge just laughed, and the whole person began to shrink from a height of 30 meters, and did not stop until it turned into 2 meters. Then he turned into a 2-meter-high man like a savage, directly embraced Jinrixu's delicate body in his arms, and ordered Shen Hong to leave here in an instant. Next, when he found a mountain wall, Tang Ge pointed out that a deep cave was created by him in an instant. After the two entered, the entrance of the cave was sealed again. For a while, Tang Ge and Jinrixu were no longer seen in the dark night. Only bursts of melodious and long-lasting beautiful music faintly echoed outside the cave. It's just that this situation only lasted until midnight. Accompanied by continuous violent vibrations, the originally solid cave and the entire mountain wall suddenly collapsed. Amidst the rumbling sound, a landscape painting flew out, blocking the collapsed mountain wall from the outside. But shrouded in the landscape scroll, the violent vibration still continued. End of this chapter. Period. Chapter 305 Returning to Holy Soul Village. Toss overnight. Until the next morning, when the sun rose, the soft rays of light fell down, dispelling the crystal dew that covered the great emperor. The landscape painting that blocked the collapse of the mountain wall suddenly shook, releasing a powerful force and dispelling the countless gravels that were pressing around it. Immediately, the landscape scroll unfolded slowly, revealing the scene inside. It was Tang Ge and Jinrixu who were hugging each other but had already put on their clothes. After a night of in-depth and intense exchanges, the two of them didn't feel tired for half a day. If time didn't allow it, they would be fine even if they persisted for a few more days. And taking this opportunity, Tang Ge fulfilled Jin Ringsu's wish and studied her thoroughly from the inside out. At least in terms of body structure, there is really no secret between the two parties. At this moment, Jin Ringsu, who was originally aloof and cold, had already been trained to become a little girl from Xiaojiabayu, and she was resting her head on Tang Ge's arm with a happy smile on her face. But as if thinking of something, she suddenly said in a low voice, "Tang Ge, do you already know my identity? Would you believe me if I knew your identity when I first met you?" Hearing Jin Ringsu's question, Tang Ge asked back with a smile. As soon as he said this, the experience of meeting Tang Ge for the first time in the hunting soul forest 7 years ago in Jin Ringsu's mind suddenly appeared involuntarily. Tang Ge seemed to be only 7 years old at that time. But this little kid who was only 7 years old actually knew to take advantage of him at the beginning, and even beat him there. Even though the two had had a relationship before, Jin Ringsu couldn't help but blush. But when she thought of the age gap between herself and the other party, she felt a little awkward in her heart. She always felt a kind of an old cow eats young grass in the man's mouth. For a while, Jin Ringsu couldn't help asking hesitantly, then, "Tang Ge, do you think I'm old? Old? Do you think I'm old? Think you are old?" Hearing Jin Ringsu's worried words, Tang Ge was stunned for a moment, and then couldn't laugh or cry. He pinched the other person's nose directly, and said with a smile, "Don't you know that long-opened women are the most delicious? And there is a proverb about the age of women in my hometown. Do you want to hear it?" Jin Ringsu nodded curiously. Tang Ge coughed, cleared his throat, and then spoke seriously. "The 3rd year of the female college, give gold bricks. The 30,000 female college, send Jiangshan. The 300 female college, give the elixir. The 3,000 female college, rank in the fairy class. The 30,000 female college, the Queen Mother feeds. Women's University 30, standing in front of the Buddha Women's University is 300 million, you have the final say in the fairy world. The Women's University has 3,000 million, and the 6 worlds are up to you. The female college student is, million, and Pangu is your younger brother." After finishing speaking in one breath, Tang Ge smiled complacently at the stunned Jin Ringsu. "How is it? Do you think you can be ranked first because you are less than 10 years older than me, PFFT?" As soon as these words came out, Jin Ringsu couldn't help laughing immediately after she came back to her senses. She blushed and glared at Tang Ge. "What nonsense are you talking about? I can't understand it all." "It doesn't matter if you understand it or not, you just need to know that there is no age gap in my eyes, only the depth of the gully." Tang Ge chuckled, and couldn't help tearing up the clothes on Jin Ringsu's body with a stab. Taking advantage of the beauty of the rising sun, the two of them once again started a fierce ups and downs here. Tang Ge didn't end his torture on Jin Ringsu until the sun was rising and the startled tigers and wolves ran to watch the excitement. Then the two of them cleaned up in front of a river, changed into new clothes, and then agreed to head towards the Holy Soul village at a normal speed. That's right. This time, Tang Ge went back to Holy Soul village to see Grandpa Jack. It's just that he didn't expect to meet Jin Ringsu on the way back, so with Jin Ringsu joining, the journey back to the village suddenly became less lonely. During the period, Jin Ringsu finally had the opportunity to talk to Tang Ge about her experiences in the past 2 years. It turned out that after going to Shrek Academy with Tang Ge 2 years ago, Jin Ringsu originally wanted to stay to learn more about Tang Ge. But I didn't expect that after the massacre happened because of the Wuhan Temple. She had no choice but to leave Shrek Academy, and first met with Emperor Zhu Yi as the envoy of the Wuhan Palace to discuss the slaughter of the Wuhan Palace. Afterwards, Jin Ringsu personally went to investigate the situation in the destroyed city of Wuhan Hall, and immediately confirmed that the matter was done by the evil spirit master. When the news spread, Jin Daoliu, Jin Ringsu's grandfather, was worried about Jin Ringsu's safety, so he directly recalled him back to the Wuhan Hall to continue his hidden cultivation. As for the matter of the evil soul master, it was handed over to the Pope of Wuhandian to handle it. It's just that when mentioning the Pope of the Pope's palace, Jin Ringsu was obviously in a low mood. Seeing this, Tang Ge naturally understood that because of some indelible pain, the Pope in Wuhandian didn't care much about Jin Ringsu, the only daughter. And Jin Daoliu, who knew about it, didn't tell Jin Ringsu what he really wanted. So Jin Ringsu always thought that she was not good enough, and later she pretended to be the prince of the Heaven Dao Empire, Zhu King, and tried to murder Emperor Zhu Yi. It's just that because of Tang Ge's appearance, this plan was interrupted 7 years ago. Ridiculous though. Although Emperor Ziyi was not poisoned to death, he still did not escape bad luck. Under the indirect drive of Tang Ge and Jinriksu, he was eroded by the soul of the dark Devilga tiger who lost his body. As for the destruction of the Wuhan temple, 9 times out of 10 it was also done secretly by the dark Devilga tiger in order to restore its strength. To put it in one sentence, it is the way of heaven and reincarnation, who is spared by the heavens. Regarding this, Tang Ge just felt a little emotional in his heart, but he didn't tell Jinriksu what he knew. Seeing that the other party was a little depressed, he directly rubbed the other party's golden hair and said, "Okay, let the unhappy things go first. When I have time, I will go back with you to meet the legendary grandfather you mentioned, but now, you have to go back to meet my grandfather first." After the words fell, Tang Ge stopped Jinriksu in his arms before she could react. As the divine power fluctuated in the sea of bitterness, a divine rainbow flew out and enveloped the two of them, soaring into the sky with a bang, and rushed into the distance in this way. Under Tang Ge's full speed, the journey that should have taken several days was completed in less than 2 hours. When it fell from the sky again, and looked at the village tens of meters ahead that had already appeared in the field of vision with curling smoke rising from it, even the calm Tang Ge couldn't help but get excited at this moment. After being away for several years, now I return to my hometown again. A strong sense of longing gushed out from the bottom of his heart uncontrollably, and Tang Ge finally couldn't help but opened his mouth and yelled out, "Holy Soul Village, I'm back, Grandpa, I'm back." Beside, feeling Tang Ge's excited mood, even Jinriksu began to feel anticipation and anxiety. Ask for a monthly pass. End of this chapter. Chapter 306. Since Tang Ge and Tang San's martial spirits were activated and left, 8 years had passed before they knew it. During these 8 years, Holy Soul Village has not changed much, and it is still a simple and ordinary remote village as before. But the villagers living here are constantly changing. As time passed mercilessly, the children got bigger, the adults got older, and the old people got older, until finally they completely disappeared in this world. Similarly, 8 years have passed, and there has never been a genius like Tang Ge and Tang San in Holy Soul Village. Therefore, the villagers who were looking forward to their children's success were envious of the old village head Jack at first, saying that it was a blessing from the previous life that the old village head could cultivate such a young genius as Tang Ge. But people's hearts are subject to change. When they found out that their child was a wimp, and saw Tang Ge and Tang San who had barely returned to the village in the past few years, the villagers' envious minds felt a little balanced. And even though they were concerned about old Jack's status as the village chief and their seniority, they didn't dare to say anything nasty openly. But in private, these villagers are talking about it, and the content is nothing more than that old Jack really raised a white-eyed wolf. Now it's alright, the grandson went out with a future, but he completely forgot about the old man at home, and didn't even look at it when he went back to the village. In this regard, although old Jack became deaf and dizzy because of getting older, he even started to have difficulty walking. But he still heard these people's comments, and several times couldn't help but angrily scolded these people, saying that Xiao Tang Ge was definitely not that kind of child. It's just a pity that not only did old Jack's scolding not have any effect, but the jealous villagers became more and more unscrupulous. They even directly used Tang San and Tang Ge as negative teaching materials to teach their children that they must never learn from these two people to disrespect their parents. Knowing that he couldn't stop it, old Jack simply pretended not to hear it. But as time went by, he went out less and less frequently, and the wrinkles on his face became thicker and thicker. This day is the 8th year since Tang Ge left the village. Old Jack, who kept the time in his heart all the time, had just finished his work outside. With a creak, he pushed open the door and returned to his yard. When he saw the rattan chair made by Xiao Tang Ge on the wall not far away, 2 lines of tears fell involuntarily in his cloudy eyes. Little Tang Ge, Grandpa doesn't ask you to be famous, but only hopes that you can be safe and sound during these years outside. Muttering to himself, old Jack leaned on crutches and tremblingly walked towards the rattan chair. But at the moment when he just sat on the rattan chair, a burst of shouting suddenly came in from outside the village. "Holy Soul Village, I'm back, Grandpa, I'm back." Is this Xiao Tang Ge's voice? Correct. It was Xiao Tang Ge's voice. Although he hadn't seen Xiao Tang Ge for a long time, old Jack could still tell that the voice was Xiao Tang Ge's. It's just that he didn't expect Xiao Tang Ge to come back suddenly at this time. All of a sudden, old Jack, who had just sat down, suddenly stood up excitedly. He even forgot to take his crutches. So he hurriedly ran out of the yard. Looking at it at that moment, old Jack's originally stooped body straightened a little involuntarily. Outside Holy Soul Village, when the excited Tang Ge and Jinringsu came to the entrance of the village. Because of the yelling just now, many villagers have been alarmed and gathered here one after another. It's just that they didn't recognize the identity of the person coming from the voice like old Jack, so they were very curious about who came back. As a result, the villagers were stunned when they saw a man and a woman gradually appearing in front of them. Basically, their ancestors have lived in the Holy Soul Village for generations, and the farthest place they have traveled is probably Notting City, so although they have seen a lot of people, they have never seen handsome men and women like the two in front of them. It can be said that in the eyes of these villagers, the man and woman seem to have descended from the sky, and their temperament is really good. Even they still have an uncontrollable feeling of shame in their hearts. How could there be such a good-looking person in the world? For a moment, some men ignored the glaring eyes of the woman next to them, and stared at the beautiful fairy on the opposite side in a daze. 5 or 6 meters away. Sensing the obsessive gazes of many men on her, Jinringsu frowned slightly, and couldn't help wanting to do it. But Tang Ge next to her stopped her with a smile. Why do you need to be familiar with these people? Jinringsu obeyed Tang Ge's words very much, and immediately gave up the idea of doing it. But immediately she asked a little anxiously, Tang Ge, do you think Grandpa will dislike me when I see him later? Dislike you? Don't you know how beautiful you are yourself? Who'll despise you? Hearing Jinringsu's worry, Tang Ge couldn't help but roll his eyes. But when he was about to speak to comfort the other party, suddenly there was an old trembling voice from behind the crowd. Yes, is it Xiao Tang Ge? Swish, swish, swish. Soon, the gathered crowd parted involuntarily, and an old figure ran over tremblingly. Tang Ge's eyes turned red when he saw this familiar figure who was much older than he remembered. Before the other party came over, he couldn't help but rushed over. Grandpa! I'm Tang Ge, I'm back to see you. Old Jack, who had just run over, stopped. He looked at the young man rushing up to him with cloudy eyes, and couldn't help stretching out his skinny old hand to touch the other's face, and then looked him up and down. After a while, old Jack finally smiled in relief. Good. Really good. Seeing that Xiao Tang Ge can come back safely, and you are so tall and strong, old man, even if I leave, I can leave with peace of mind. Hearing these words, Tang Ge felt as if he had been pricked by a needle, and his heart ached. Looking at his relatives who could barely open their old eyes, he suddenly regretted that he hadn't come back earlier. Soon, Tang Ge's face was also soaked with tears. He said in a hoarse voice, Grandpa, it's all Tang Ge's fault that he didn't come back to see you earlier, which made you worry about your grandson. But Grandpa, don't worry, grandson has become very powerful now. With grandson here, you will live a long life. As he said that, Tang Ge immediately mobilized a little bit of life force from the map of Shamshiji into old Jack's body. Under the effect of this shred of life force, old Jack, who was extremely weak because of rushing over, suddenly regained some energy. His cloudy eyes also became much clearer. End of this chapter. Chapter 307. I am the legend of this village. When Tang Ge was talking to old Jack, the surrounding villagers finally came to their senses. But as soon as they came back to their senses, seeing the boy who was supporting old Jack, who looked far from being a teenager, they all showed surprise on their faces. Is this boy really the little Tang Ge who left the village 8 years ago? He has become so tall and handsome now? This old Jack, he must have admitted the wrong person, right? Some young people really couldn't bear such a huge gap, and immediately spoke in a strange tone. Old village chief, I don't think this young man looks like Tang Ge at all. You must be old-eyed and mistaken. Right, that's right, I remember that Tang Ge was still lame when he was a child. Even if he awakened his martial spirit, it's only been a few years. How much can he do? Maybe he's still outside now and has no face to come back. Old village chief, in my opinion, maybe this young man knew Xiao Tang Ge, but because of Xiao Tang Ge's accident, he came to report the funeral for you. It's just that I see you are pitiful, so I deliberately let you treat him as Xiao Tang Ge. Otherwise, look, can a boy like Tang Ge know such a beautiful girl? Faced with the slander of some villagers, old Jack also noticed Jinringsu not far behind. But immediately a surge of anger welled up in his heart, and he couldn't help pointing at these nonsense villagers and yelling. It's fine for you people to gossip about the old man on weekdays. After all, My old man is also a person who has half a foot in the soil. I don't care about you, just bear with it. But now that Tang Ge is back, you are still maliciously slandering him. I said, can you people still have some face? Is it because you can't understand that other people's children are better than you? If this is the case, you will never be able to get out of the Holy Soul Village for the rest of your life, and you will be worthless for generations to come. Perhaps because of Tang Ge's return, old Jack couldn't hold back at this moment, and began to reprimand him unceremoniously. For a moment, the faces of the reprimanded villagers became extremely ugly. Some rascals even clenched their fists, gritted their teeth and said, "Old guy, you're courting death? These people actually want to do it." Tang Ge was just quietly listening to the old Grandpa Jack's scolding, but now seeing this scene, a cold light flashed in his eyes, and he was about to make a move. But there are people who did it earlier than him. Accompanied by a terrifying aura, Jinring Su, who was standing a few meters away at some point, had already walked over. A seraph reappeared behind her who cast her martial soul, and the golden light shrouded her like a goddess. But wherever the cold gaze passed, all the villagers present were thrown to the ground without exception by the powerful momentum. A look of horror finally appeared on their faces. "Grandpa, are you going to kill them all?" In Jinring Su's eyes, those villagers who dared to bully Grandpa Jack should be damned. But old Jack couldn't help but jump in his heart when he heard it. A murderous girl. For a moment, he glanced at Tang Ge with some concern. "Little Tang Ge, this is, Grandpa, don't be afraid, this is my friend Jinring Su, you can just call her Zyak Su." While talking with a smile, Tang Ge reached out and grabbed Jinring Su's little hand and pulled her over. As soon as Jinring Su came over, she quickly restrained her arrogance, blushed at the same time, and shyly called out to old Jack. "Grandpa, my name is Jinring Su, Tang Ge's friend." Tang Ge's friend? Facing the sudden friend of Tang Ge in front of him, old Jack couldn't help but glance at the hands they were holding together. Then he suddenly realized that the originally angry mood suddenly turned cloudy and sunny, and he couldn't help laughing heartily. "Okay. Good friend. Little Tang Ge, you can't bully others, Zyak Su, you know that? Otherwise, I'll have to spank your ass, PFFT." When Jinring Su heard what old Jack said, she couldn't help but burst out laughing. But Tang Ge looked helpless. However, he immediately shifted his attention to the villagers in front of him who were pushed to the ground by Jinring Su's aura, and directly learned the reason of the incident from one of the rascals. When he learned of the grievances that Grandpa Jack had suffered in the past few years when he left. Even though Tang Ge was usually gentle, refined, and kind to others, he couldn't help but feel a sense of hostility in his heart at this moment. He really wanted to kill these villagers, but he also took into account the feelings of old Grandpa Jack. So Tang Ge directly suggested, "Grandpa, why don't you leave St. Soul Village, so that you don't have to face these ignorant people anymore? And according to your grandson and my strength, let alone the position of a mere village chief, even if I am the city lord of Notting City, I can make you the grandpa." It's not that he is bragging, but that he does have this ability. What's more, there is still a young master from the top power in the mainland standing on the side. In this regard, old Jack naturally understood Tang Ge's intentions. While he was relieved, he smiled wryly and shook his head. "It's fine to leave, after all, I've lived here for most of my life, old man. I still can't bear to part with every plant and tree here. And after they have seen your strength, even if you leave in the future, how dare they gossip again? Is that so?" Facing Grandpa Jack's decision, Tang Ge was silent for a moment and then suddenly looked at the villagers who were still lying on the ground. He said in a cold voice, "I'll give you a quarter of an hour to gather all the people in the village to the big square in the center of the village. If no one arrives after the time, I will kill you all. Don't even think about running away. Share, let them go." Jinring Su nodded, and immediately retracted her martial soul into her body. After the terrifying aura oppressing him disappeared, all the villagers present turned pale and dispersed in all directions. "Grandpa, let's go to the square first." Tang Ge didn't care whether the villagers would be obedient or not. After looking away, he smiled and said to Grandpa Jack. Old Jack nodded directly without asking further questions. Immediately, with the support of Tang Ge and Jinring Su, the three of them walked towards the main square of Holy Soul Village together. Soon, a quarter of an hour passed. Because of Jinring Su's display of a powerful martial spirit before, the group of villagers just now did not dare to escape. And according to Tang Ge's request, They shouted nearly 500 people from the entire village to the square of Shenghan village. And Tang Ge, Jin Ringsu and Old Jack stood under the huge monument several meters high. There are traces of handprints faintly visible on this monument, which is said to be left by the soul saint who walked out of the village. The Holy Soul village also got its name from this, but now, seeing nearly, villagers gathered around, all of whom were anxious and curious, Tang Ge took a deep breath and spoke immediately. The handprint on this stele represents the legend that there is a soul sage going out in my Holy Soul village, not to mention whether it is credible or not. And now I have summoned you all here to tell you from now on. I am the legend of this village. Ask for a monthly pass. End of this chapter. Chapter 308. Am I getting younger? From now on, I am the legend of this village. After saying that, under the shocked and frightened eyes of all the villagers, Tang Ge suddenly raised his palm and slapped the huge monument in front of him. Accompanied by surging soul power fluctuations, and under his deliberate control, there was only a loud boom, and a deeper and more obvious handprint suddenly appeared on the stone tablet where the handprint was faintly visible. Debris flew, and the ground shook slightly. Not only that, but this palm also contained Tang Ge's meaning of yin and yang. When the shocked villagers looked at it, they felt like they were about to fall into an abyss, and their heads began to dizzy. Some weak people couldn't help but bend over and vomit directly. For a moment, the other villagers were so frightened that they hurriedly looked away, not daring to look at the handprints on the stele. Not only the villagers, even Jin Ringsu, who is Contra, felt a sense of oppression on the soul level from the handprint. She couldn't help but shift her gaze to the man beside her who had already occupied her body, and her eyes were full of splendor. Will it become a legend in this village? Jin Ringsu muttered to herself. Immediately, she also used a sacred power to carve an angel sword imprint on the place where Tang Ge left her handprint just now, and swept across all the villagers present, making a cold voice. My name is Jin Ringsu, and as the daughter of the Pope of the Wuhan Palace and the young master of the Wuhan Palace, I order you to respect Grandpa Jack just as you respect the Wuhan Palace. If you dare to violate it, the whole clan will be punished. What? This fairy turned out to be the daughter of the Pope of Wuhandian? When they learned of Jin Ringsu's true identity, the villagers who had been terrified by Tang Ge's palm felt as if their bones were shattered, and suddenly they thumped and thumped one after another on the ground. Although most of them have never left a village in their entire lives, they are still very familiar with and admire Wuhandian. After all, every year, soul masters from the Wuhan temple come to the village to awaken a Wuhan for 6-year-old children. So not to mention offending the daughter of the Pope of the Wuhan Palace, even if he offended the spirit masters of the Wuhan Palace who came to awaken a Wuhan, ordinary villagers like them couldn't bear the consequences. All of a sudden, the villagers who were paralyzed on the ground kowtowed and begged for mercy, promising to treat old village chief Jack as their ancestor. With this result, Tang Ge was satisfied but also a little depressed. His limelight was snatched away just like that. But fortunately, his goal has been achieved. Even if he is not in the village, no one will dare to show any disrespect to Grandpa Jack. As for the scattered shock points, he ignored them at all. So Tang Ge gently woke up the old Jack, who was also stunned by Jin Ringsu's identity, and said, Grandpa, let's go home. Oh, go home, just go home now, old Jack replied in a daze, and then he was supported by Tang Ge and walked forward. Jin Ringsu just followed along, with a charming smile on her pretty face. After returning to my home, because it was getting late, old Jack was in a good mood, so he wanted to cook a sumptuous dinner, but Tang Ge stopped him. Joke. With him present, how can Grandpa work so hard to cook? He has to go out and cook a delicious meal for Grandpa himself. Not only did Tang Ge cook by himself, but he also brought Jin Ringsu into the kitchen. If the people of Wuhandian saw that their young master started cooking by himself, they would be shocked directly. However, Jin Ringsu, who is the young master of the Wuhan Palace, not only does not feel disgusted, but is eager to try. As for whether it can be done well, it has nothing to do with her. Even so, after old Jack saw this scene, a satisfied and gratified smile appeared on his old face. Because at the beginning, after knowing Jin Ringsu's identity, he still had great concerns, not understanding why the other party would fall in love with his little Tang Ge. But now, old Jack has completely put away such concerns. It must be because his family's Xiao Tang Ge is so good. So when it was time to eat, when he learned that Jin Ringsu was 10 years older than Tang Ge, old Jack didn't care at all. Even in order not to let the girl Jin Ringsu think too much, He laughed and said that when he and Xiao Tangge would have a bunch of babies come out to accompany him, a widowed old man. For a moment, Jin Ringsu's face flushed, and she lowered her head shyly throughout a meal. After dinner at the end, Tang Ge and Jin Ringsu sat in the courtyard with old Jack and talked for a long time. During this period, Tang Ge and Jin Ringsu were basically talking, while old Jack listened with a smile on his face. Before he knew it, he was already lying on the chair and making a sound of sound sleep, and the smile on his face never faded. Seeing this scene, Tang Ge couldn't help but secretly decided to bring Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing back for Grandpa to see when he had the chance. Presumably Grandpa would be happier. But he didn't dare to let Jin Ringsu know about this idea, and after sending his grandfather back to the room to rest, he and Jin Ringsu also returned to the room that Grandpa specially arranged for the two of them. As soon as the door closed, Tang Ge picked up Jin Ringsu by the waist and threw her on the bed. He even jumped forward with a hey smile. "Zuier, let's have a bunch of babies together. Wait. I want to know what you put in your grandpa's rice when you ate before." Jin Ringsu, who was lying on the bed, dodged Tang Ge's pounce, and asked curiously in her bright beautiful eyes. Because when she was eating, she felt a strange force appearing in her body. Although it didn't improve her soul power much, it improved her body. When Tang Ge heard it, he couldn't help but proudly said, "Of course it's a good thing, but I can't tell you now, you will know when you wake up tomorrow." After speaking, he directly pressed on Jin Ringsu's body. This time Jin Ringsu didn't dodge, and let the other party toss on her. But after a while, in the silent night, there were bursts of squeaks and creaks sound of the bed shaking from the room. The next day, early in the morning, when everyone in the other houses in Holy Soul Village got up early and started to get busy, the old Jack's house, which had been quiet all along, suddenly broke the silence with a cry. "Little Tangge! Little Tangge! Come and see, old man, what happened to me, how did I become younger?" Hearing this anxious cry, Tang Ge and Jin Ringsu, who had just stopped tossing and going to bed in the next room, had to change into new clothes and hurriedly got out of bed. As for the fragments of clothes scattered in different places, Tang Ge laughed and put them all away under Jin Ringsu's white eyes. It was Grandpa's shout, and Tang Ge, who knew the situation, was not worried. After all, that's what he did. End of this chapter. Chapter 309 On a whim, draw again. Next room. When Tang Ge and Jin Ringsu changed into new clothes and rushed over, they immediately saw a figure twisting left and right in front of the mirror, occasionally kicking and jumping up and down. Although this figure was compared with the one in memory from the back view, not only did the hunched waist straighten up again, even half of the silver hair on the head turned black. But Tang Ge still recognized at a glance that the other party was his amiable and respectable grandfather, old Jack, the village chief of Holy Soul Village. On the side, Jin Ringsu also saw the other party's identity. But it was precisely because she saw it that she directly showed a shocked expression on her pretty face. "Tang Ge, Grandpa, this is," as if hearing footsteps, the figure twisting and twisting in front of the mirror trembled first, then slowly turned around hesitantly. Suddenly, a man who seemed to be in his 50s appeared in front of the two of them, tangled, helpless. There's even a little surprise. When all kinds of complicated expressions appeared on the middle-aged man's face, even Tang Ge couldn't help laughing out loud after seeing him. While laughing, he gave a thumbs up and praised, "Grandpa, I really didn't expect you to be handsome when you were younger. If you go out for a while, it won't be a problem to charm a few village girls, really." Hearing Tang Ge's words, the middle-aged man's eyes lit up first, and then when he noticed Jin Ringsu's strange eyes next to Tang Ge, he suddenly tightened his face and gave him a stare. "You little Tang Ge, what nonsense are you talking about, old man? How old am I?" "That's right." At this moment, the middle-aged man who suddenly appeared in old Jack's room and looked only in his 50s was none other than old Jack himself. It's just that regarding his own sudden youth, not to mention that he himself didn't understand what was going on, even Jin Ringsu was very curious. But both of them felt that this must have something to do with Tang Ge. Especially Jin Ringsu, who asked Tang Ge last night. Sure enough, when the younger old Jack was worried about something wrong with him, Tang Ge finally said with a smile, "Grandpa, don't worry. In fact, the reason why you have such a big change after sleeping is because I gave you a kind of elixir called Huji Dan last night. This elixir mainly has the effect of consolidating the foundation and cultivating the vitality. It doesn't have much effect on soul masters, but it has a great effect on ordinary people like you. That's why you, Grandpa, suddenly became younger overnight. directly from your 80s to your 50s. The Foundation Establishment pill was a pill that Tang Ge had drawn a long time ago, and he wanted to keep it for Grandpa Jack. It's just that he has been practicing before and has no time to come back. Now returning to Holy Soul Village again, looking at Grandpa Jack who was getting older, Tang Ge directly crushed Zhu Jidan into last night's dinner. This was also the reason why Jin Ringsu would notice it. As for why not let Grandpa Jack swallow the Foundation Establishment pill in its entirety? That's because even if the Foundation Establishment pill is just an elixir that monks take at the beginning, it is still very effective. But just ordinary people plus the old Jack whose body is almost withered can't bear the impact of such a powerful medicine. Once the whole pill is taken, it will be a disaster rather than a blessing. After listening to Tang Ge's words, the old Jack, who had never heard of Zhu Ji pill, was both relieved and distressed. What is gratifying is that even though the little Tang Ge he raised since he was a child has become a high-ranking soul master, he has not forgotten him as a bad old man. And the one who felt distressed was the Foundation Establishment pill. It can make old people look younger, whether you have heard of it or not. It must be an incomparably precious treasure. Thinking that he had consumed such a precious elixir after eating a meal last night, old Jack couldn't help shaking his head and sighing, "Little Tang Jack, don't do such stupid things again in the future. Old man, I am getting old, I should go, I should waste such a precious medicine. On the contrary, it is not easy for you, Xiao Tang, to live outside, and soul master cultivation also requires a lot of." But before old Jack finished speaking, Tang Ge, who seemed to know what he was going to say next, interrupted him with a smile. "Grandpa, don't worry, it's not a pity for you to use this elixir, and I still want you to accompany my grandson forever. In addition, you don't have to worry about your grandson's cultivation. After all, Zuir is the master of the Wuhan Temple. At worst, I'll just hug her thighs and hang out with her in the future. She can't still be short of my grandson's living expenses." Having said that, Tang Ge couldn't help turning his head to look at Jin Ringsu proudly. Seeing this, Jin Ringsu immediately rolled her eyes at the other party, but nodded cooperatively. "Tang Ge's right, Grandpa, don't worry, the Wuhan Palace will belong to Zuir in the future, and he can take whatever he wants." Such domineering words were spoken by Jin Ringsu in a calm tone, which directly made old Jack dumbfounded. But it also made him completely relieved. With the young master of the Wuhan Palace concerned about his good grandson, he really doesn't have to worry about being such a bad old man. So seeing the tendency of the two to flirt here again, old Jack, who knew he had delayed the two of them, burst out laughing. "Ha ha ha, little Tang Jack, you can play with Zuir, old man. I have suddenly become several years younger, and I always feel like I have endless energy. I have to go out and wander around first." Then, he quickly left the room and disappeared into the yard outside. After the person disappeared completely, Jin Ringsu withdrew her beautiful eyes and looked straight at Tang Ge. Why are you looking at me like that?" Tang Ge was a little puzzled. There was light in Jin Ringsu's eyes, and she said, "I want to take a good look at you, to see how many hidden things I can't see through you. Just like when you were 6 years old, you were able to kill the 10,000-year-old beast, like a soul beast. Hey, what's so interesting? The moment I pulled out the spear to you, didn't my most important secret have already been revealed to you?" Faced with Jin Ringsu's curiosity, Tang Ge was immediately elated. But just when he was about to continue talking, an extremely strong urge to draw a lottery suddenly appeared in his heart inexplicably. Is it a whim? Tang Ge, who suddenly felt this way, couldn't help being stunned, not understanding how this happened. Originally, according to his plan, he would stay in the Holy Soul Village for a few days, and then find a place to directly smoke 40 times after arriving in the extreme north. After all, 40 shock points have already been saved, and it would be a pity for him to endure for so many days if he didn't start 40 consecutive draws. But now, the sudden whim was to make Tang Ge draw 10 times in a row. God knows why he feels this way. Looking at Jin Ringsu standing in front of her again, Tang Ge couldn't help asking, "Zuir, is your aunt here, auntie?" At first, Jin Ringsu didn't understand what was going on. But when he noticed that Tang Ge was looking at a certain part of his body, his doubtful pretty face suddenly turned red, and he was so angry that he raised his foot and kicked it hard. Go to hell. End of this chapter. Period. Chapter 310. Another 10-year soul ring. After some squabbling, Jin Ringsu, who was blushing and had messy hair, finally nodded and confessed with some difficulty. "I feel that that thing is indeed coming today. It is as expected. Tang Ge's eyes lit up immediately after hearing this. Then he couldn't help but smile and gently pinch the other Skyong's nose, saying, "Thanks to your relatives, I feel like I'm going to break through again today. So baby, go rest first, wait for me at home, don't go anywhere. When I finish the breakthrough, I will give you a surprise when I come back." Before Jinringsu could react, Tang Ge pushed her into the room where she rested last night, and picked her up and gently put her on the bed. It wasn't until the quilt covered her body and Tang Ge's figure disappeared into the room that Jinringsu suddenly came to her senses. "Thanks to my relatives? He wants to break through, and many more. Isn't Tang Ge already level 69? If he didn't have a new soul ring, how could he break through and hunt down the soul beast that suits him now?" Thinking of this, Jinringsu, who had just lay down, suddenly sat up again. No. Tang Ge already had a 10-year spirit ring before, and the 7th spirit ring might still have to choose the 10-year spirit ring. "I can't let him go alone." Then she hurried out of the room and left the yard directly to look for Tang Ge. It's a pity that Tang Ge directly used the mountain and river domain to leave, and the speed was extremely fast. When Jinringsu ran to the village, she didn't even see anyone. Although she guessed that Tang Ge would probably go to the Stardao forest, because only there were traces of 10-year-old soul beasts in the nearest place. But thinking of Tang Ge's confession before leaving, Jinringsu hesitated again. In the end, she could only stay at the entrance of the village and wait quietly, but she had already decided in her heart that if the other party didn't come back within 2 days, she would go directly to the Stardao forest. Tang Ge didn't know that Jinringsu was looking for him at the moment, and after he left Holy Soul Village, he didn't go to Stardao forest as Jinringsu thought. After all, he is a man with a system. If he wants a soul ring for a breakthrough, do he need to hunt and kill soul beasts? So Tang Ge went directly to the cliff where the system was awakened. When he came to the cliff, Tang Ge couldn't help but sneered and touched his nose when he saw that there were still remains of the human-shaped pothole that he had knocked out when he fused the ancient holy body. Looking back, I really feel that I was so stupid at that time, that I would hit the wall. Immediately, he stopped thinking about it and sat cross-legged on the ground. Immediately afterwards the profile panel is presented. Shocking system, host, Tang Ge, level 69 Soul Emperor Lun He. The other side, martial souls, twin martial souls, map of mountains and rivers, 4 swords of immortals, spirit ring, black, red, affected by the mountains and rivers domain, can be merged into one and change any color. Soul skill, mountain and river domain, unique. Currently covering a spherical area with a radius of, meters around the host. Soul spike, yin-yang wings, Mahamudra of life and death, Tai Chi sword formation, incarnation of giant spirit god, martial arts, chaotic cloaking windhammer method. Secret of Xing character, hell smelting, heavenly god fist, battle robe of gods, cutting the sky finger, physique, ancient holy body, awakening 30%, shock value 423,100. Compared with before, Tang Ge's information has not changed much, only the shock value has increased by nearly, points during this period because of Jinringsu and the villagers of Shenghan village. The shock value of more than 40 is enough for a 40 consecutive draw. But unfortunately, thinking of the win just now, Tang Ge couldn't help but smile wryly. Forget it, there will be a chance sooner or later, don't be in a hurry, so let's start with a routine of 10 consecutive draws. However, I hope this 10 consecutive draws will not disappoint me. Then with anticipation in his heart, he directly started the roulette of the heavens. With a consumption of, shock points, and under the system's notification sound, the heavenly roulette that reappeared suddenly turned into an illusory afterimage. Finally, another half a quarter of an hour passed. At the moment when the spinning wheel of the heavens stopped again, 10 treasures from the heavens and myriad worlds rushed out of the fog above and fell into Tang Ge's system space. At the same time, a series of urgent system notification sounds followed. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you have successfully drawn a tribulation thunder pill twice in a row. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you have successfully extracted the supernatural power, the giant spirit Mahamudra. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you have drawn a below great pill twice in a row. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you have successfully extracted the unrivaled treasure of pure yang, the deaf and bright ship. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you have successfully extracted the gate of the heavens. One time, Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you have successfully extracted the 3 timelines of the power of fighting to break the sky, ding dong. Congratulations to the host, successfully extracting the branches that fell from the Jianmu sacred tree, ding dong. Congratulations to the host, you have successfully extracted a compound level 10-year soul ring with clairvoyance and wind ears. Listening to these rapid system prompts, and when every treasure falls into the system space, it will feed back its own information to Tang Ge's mind. So Tang Ge became excited at the moment exploded. Finally exploded again. 10 draws in a row, with no false shots, all of them are useful treasures. Not to mention the 2 tribulation thunder pills that were drawn at the beginning, they have already helped Tang Ge survive the terrifying tribulation thunder caused by the ancient holy body twice. Take this thing out, even a 10-year-old soul beast will be extremely jealous when seeing it. Whether it is the supernatural power giant Ling Mohammedra, the Billow Great Pill that can enhance spiritual power, or the flying treasure Daffin Light Ship, they are all good treasures. Among them are the one-time 2-way world passage, the gate of the heavens that appeared before, and 2 timelines that are familiar with the world. In the end, there was even a branch that fell from the Jianmu sacred tree. You must know that the Jianmu sacred tree is one of the 4 sacred trees in ancient mythology. It is a ladder to communicate with heaven, earth, human and God, and it is also known as the world tree. Although a branch looks inconspicuous, it is enough to be called a treasure of course. Among the treasures obtained by the 10 consecutive draws this time, the most important thing for Tang Ge was the composite 10-year soul ring he obtained at the end from clairvoyance Shunfinger. With this 10-year soul ring, he can finally make a breakthrough in the soul power level that he has stayed for nearly a year. Even after its huge energy is released, there is a great chance that Tang Ge's soul power level can be directly raised to level 79. If luck is any better. He did 2 more 10 consecutive draws and got 2 10-year spirit rings. Wouldn't he be able to reach 99 peerless Douluo in one day? For a moment, Tang Ge couldn't help showing a bright smile on his face. This feeling of whim is really cool. End of this chapter. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 311 Martial Soul Avatar, The World in the Picture. After 10 consecutive draws, the shock value dropped from 40 to 30, and the plan for 40 consecutive draws was completely hopeless. But Tang Ge was not only not disappointed, but extremely satisfied. This time, the 10 consecutive draws were completely bumper on his whim. Most importantly, Tang Ge finally had the 10-year soul ring needed to break through to level. So when the lottery draw ended and the heavenly roulette disappeared again, he didn't hesitate, and immediately took out the newly drawn 10-year soul ring. Immediately, under this secluded cliff, an extremely rich red light spread directly. However, under Tang Ge's restraint, the red glow released by the 10-year soul ring did not go too far. Looking at the soul ring floating in front of him, Tang Ge's eyes were filled with a bright and piercing light. Last time, because he fused the 10-year soul ring from the giant spirit god, he obtained the powerful soul skill of the giant spirit god's incarnation. Now he has obtained a compound 10-year soul ring from both clairvoyance and Shunfeng ear in the mythical world. Maybe the soul skill is one of clairvoyant eyes and ears. And besides the soul skills, Tang Ge is also very much looking forward to the transformation of the martial soul after the soul power goes from level 69 to level. Because strictly speaking, the 7th soul skill obtained at the 70th level soul sage stage is the transformation of the martial soul, called the real body of the martial soul. But Tang Ge's soul ring is not ordinary. It is not only a 10-year soul ring, but also a composite soul ring of 2 mythical figures with Shunfeng ear and clairvoyance. So this soul ring can not only transform Tang Ge's martial soul, but also bring him another new soul skill. I hope it's the same as I thought, muttering to himself. Tang Ge immediately stopped wasting time and drew the crimson soul ring floating in front of him to him with a hook. Then at the moment when this 10-year soul ring merged with a martial soul Shanshiji map, Tang Ge only heard a boom in his mind, and his consciousness fell into a brief darkness for an instant. At the same moment, the spirit power in his body that had been growing but remained at level 69 at this moment also burst out like a flood after a hole was opened in the embankment. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Immediately, There were bursts of sound of the river's water tumbling around the open space under the cliff. Tang Ge's aura is also constantly improving. Level 70. Level 71. Level 72. At some point, the map of Shamshiji that had been fused with his soul ring also rushed out of Tang Ge's body. When it flew into the air, it instantly unfolded and rapidly expanded to become 5 or 6 feet in size. On the picture scroll, with a continuous influx of soul power and divine power from the sea of bitterness, all the mountains, rivers and rivers suddenly became animated. Sunset moonrise. The wind is blowing. The sky and iron chains formed by the god patterns are intertwined with concealment and void, which makes the whole world in the painting more indescribably majestic. In the end, the 3 huge figures embodied by the 2 10-year-old soul rings belonging to Tang Ge also rushed into the picture scroll, and the picture of Shamshiji paused first, and then suddenly fluctuated violently. Especially when Tang Ge opened his eyes with his eyes closed. The fluctuations from the Shamshiji map instantly spread to the surroundings. In the blink of an eye, the entire range of, meters was covered. Wherever the fluctuation touched, no matter whether it was a cliff or flowers and trees, they all disappeared. In its place is another strange world. And this is exactly the same as the scene in the picture of Shamshiji. Tang Ge, who had stood up from the ground at some point, gradually regained clarity in his confused eyes. Even though he had already guessed, he was still shocked and pleasantly surprised when he felt the surrounding situation at this moment. That's right, Tang Ge has now broken through from the Soul Emperor realm to the Soul Saint. When the 10-year soul ring and martial soul were fused together, he not only obtained new soul skills, but also ushered in his own martial soul avatar. And this martial soul avatar is impressively making the ability of Shamshiji to a step further, finally being able to project the world in the painting into reality. Compared with the previous domain, the current Shamshiji map can not only change the scene within a radius of, meters at will, but also can increase the strength of all teammates and companions in the world of Shan. And Tang Ge, as the owner of the mountains and rivers Shiji map, exists like a god in this embodied world. Of course, its external manifestation is second. What really changed the map of Shamshiji is that it finally has a world in the painting. In other words, Tang Ge can not only fight against the enemy with the help of the world embodied in the map of Shamshiji, but also directly pull the enemy into the map of Shamshiji. That's right, with the awakening of Wu Hun's real body, his map of mountains, rivers and land can finally be entered, which is much more advanced than the space given by the system. However, Tang Ge also fully understood that no matter the map of mountains, rivers and land or the 4 swords of Zuxian, it was actually the system that projected the body into his martial soul through unknown means. And if he wants to make this projection as strong as the main body, he needs to constantly improve the ability of projection as his own strength improves. It's just that the 4 swords of Zuxian are much more powerful than the map of mountains, rivers and land that evolved from the map of yin and yang life and death, even if they are all projections. But no matter what, Tang Ge is still very satisfied with the new ability of Shamshiji. If he goes to other worlds in the future, with the assistance of the world in the painting with a map of mountains, rivers and land, maybe he will not be alone again. It's just that at this moment, the world originally manifested from the map of Shamshiji suddenly fluctuated violently, and there was a faint tendency to collapse. In the picture scroll, there are even more collapses of mountains and rivers and chaos of heaven and earth. Even if Tang Ge found out and immediately used his soul power and divine power to stabilize it, it would not help. What's going on? Is it because my current strength is not enough to support the map of mountains, rivers, and society to form the world in the painting? At this moment, Tang Ge's face became very ugly. Su Shi was also aware of his own situation. The map of Shamshiji floating in the air suddenly projected a ray of light on Tang Ge's body. Then, a green light flew out of him and went directly into the world of Shamshiji. When Tang Ge came back to his senses, he realized that the green light just now was the branch of the giant Myriad tree that he had just drawn before. It's just that this branch has already fallen into the map of the mountains and rivers at this time, and it has taken root and sprouted directly in it. Then, as the branches swayed slightly, an invisible wave suddenly spread from above to the surroundings. In the blink of an eye, the entire world in the painting of Shamshiji was completely enveloped. And with the help of this invisible force, the world in the painting that was about to collapse was stabilized again. End of this chapter. Chapter 312. This soul skill swallows my shock value? The branches of the Jianmu sacred tree actually have this ability? Seeing that the world in Shamshiji Tuli, which was in turmoil and about to collapse, had stabilized again at this moment, Tang Ge was both surprised and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that he would become the first soul sage on Douluo Continent who could not use his soul avatar just after obtaining it. But it's okay. Everything is developing in the direction you want. So after dissipating the world embodied in the map of Wuhan Mountains, rivers and Shiji, the original flowers and cliffs around it also reappeared. Tang Ge didn't pay attention to these, but directly summoned all his soul rings. Accompanied by space vibrations, soul rings emerged one after another under his feet, and slowly moved up and down around his body. 5 blacks and 2 reds. Even if the dazzling black-red light was suppressed by Tang Ge, it spread rapidly, completely dyeing the empty area under the cliff. Not only that, the aura exuded by Tang Ge also far surpassed the soul sage realm. I'm afraid that even a titled Douluo would be so frightened that he would surrender directly when he saw Tang Ge's powerful soul ring lineup. 2 10-year soul rings, how can they bully people like this? As for Tang Ge at this moment, as the owner of 5 black and 2 red soul rings, he can clearly feel the vast power filling his body. He looked at the mountain wall that had been knocked out of the hole by his body before him, and had a strong feeling that if he punched down, he would definitely smash the mountain wall to pieces. Of course, Tang Ge just thought about it and didn't do it. In any case, this place is where he made his fortune, and staying here can be regarded as a souvenir. Moreover, it is so close to the Holy Soul Village, it might be turned into a tourist attraction in the future. For example, after a certain year, the soul masters of Douluo Continent who came to Shenghan Village to admire Tang Ge's miracles will be brought here to learn about Tang Ge's past from the villagers of Shenghan Village. And if you practice facing the mountain wall, you can also have a chance to break through the bottleneck. Maybe Tang Ge, who has already gone to an unknown and powerful world by then, can also use the system to cross hundreds of millions of distances and obtain shock points from the soul masters of Douluo Continent. Just thinking about it feels so refreshing. For a moment, the corners of Tang Ge's mouth turned up slightly, and a smug smile appeared on his face. As soon as his mind moved, besides the newly obtained martial soul avatar, another great soul skill brought by the 10-year soul ring also appeared in his mind. Heaven hearing and earth vision, the 10-year soul ring and soul skills from clairvoyance and Shunfeng ear can greatly improve hearing and vision after activation, and have a chance to see the essence of the world. It is nothing unusual to improve eyesight and hearing, but Tang Ge is very interested in the fact that he can see the essence of the world. Let's see if this soul skill is worthy of a 10-year-old soul ring. While muttering to himself, he directly used chanting to Shihum. At such a moment, when a surge of energy was released from the 7th 10-year soul ring, Tang Ge only felt that the spirit of the whole person was suddenly lifted infinitely. He still stood where he was, but his consciousness seemed to be separated from his body. Just looking in the direction of Holy Soul Village, the entire Holy Soul Village seemed to be moved in front of him, and he saw every place in the village immediately. Some villagers are working. Some villagers are chatting. There are also children who are playing hide and seek in the yard around the old people. Even in the room, the surrounding courtyard walls could not block Tang Ge's vision, and he clearly saw a man and a woman in the room who were working hard to make people in broad daylight. At the same time, because of the same improved hearing, besides the constant chatter and laughter, a burst of sloppy sounds also reached his ears. This made Tang Ge tremble all over, and suddenly felt extremely cold. But I have to say, this 10-year-old soul ability is really strong enough. You must know that the Holy Soul Village is more than 2 miles away from the cliff. But Tang Ge stood under the cliff, but he had a panoramic view of the entire Holy Soul Village. He even discovered that if he consumed more soul power, he could see and hear farther. Even if you look up to the sky or look down, with the ability of these, soul skills, no matter how powerful the hidden soul skills are, the soul master will not be able to hide in front of Tang Ge. During this period, Tang Ge also saw a familiar and beautiful figure at the entrance of Shang'an village. It was Jin Ringsu. But at this moment, Jin Ringsu was obviously very anxious, her brows were also tightly wrinkled, and her beautiful eyes looked into the distance from time to time. Are you worried about me? Seeing this, Tang Ge couldn't help but secretly smiled inwardly, and was about to tease the other party remotely. But just when he was about to do this, his gaze inadvertently swept high into the sky, as if the ability of seeing the essence of the world in the 10-year soul skill was triggered, and the invisible barrier that originally blocked his vision was torn apart. At this moment, Tang Ge discovered that his field of vision was rising rapidly. Finally, when his field of vision stopped changing, he looked down and saw a water-blue planet that was the same as the world in his previous life. On the planet, the ocean occupies most of it. In addition, there are two continents that are extremely far apart, one of which is standing still, while the other is slowly approaching this continent under the impetus of a force. It's just that the speed of this approach is extremely slow, and it may take a long time before they collide. Is this the planet Douluo Continent? When seeing the scene in front of him, this idea naturally appeared in Tang Ge's mind. And he also discovered that there seems to be an invisible medium outside the planet of Douluo Continent, and it is this medium that makes it impossible for people on Douluo Continent to fly away from the planet. Not only that. After the field of vision appeared in outer space, Tang Ge looked away from the planet Douluo Continent, and then looked at the discovery beyond the planet. The feedback he got was still layer upon layer of invisible medium barriers. But he felt the threat from behind the invisible medium. Could it be a more advanced plane? Tang Ge couldn't help frowning. But just when he wanted to observe further, he suddenly found that the extremely surging soul power in his body was almost exhausted in this short period of time, and a sense of weakness followed. Therefore, without the support of soul power, Tian Ting Dishi was forced to stop, and Tang Ge's consciousness was directly pulled back from outer space. In the end, even the Wuhan Shen Shiji map and the 7 soul rings returned to his body. As soon as the consciousness returned, Tang Ge stepped back several steps in a row with a strong sense of weakness, and almost fell to the ground. He had to take the initiative to sit cross-legged on the ground, feeling the nearly dry soul power in his body. He couldn't help but shook his head with a wry smile. This consumption is too terrifying, thinking to himself. Tang Ge called up the personal information panel, ready to see his current situation. But when he glanced at the shock value column at the bottom of the attribute panel, he seemed to be struck by lightning, and suddenly stood up from the ground again. Tang Ge was stunned and couldn't believe it. Why is this gone? Could it be that this soul skill is still swallowing my shock value? End of this chapter. Chapter 313. Be good, close your eyes first. Shocking system, host, Tang Ge, level 76 Soul Sage Lun Hei. The other side, martial souls, twin martial souls, map of mountains and rivers, 4 swords of immortals, spirit ring, black, 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 red, red, affected by the mountains and rivers domain, can be merged into one and change any color. Soul skill, mountain and river domain, unique, currently covering a spherical area with a radius of, meters around the host. Soul spike, wings of yin and yang, Mahamudra of life and death, Tai Chi sword formation, incarnation of giant spirit god, hearing from heaven and earth vision, martial arts, chaotic cloaking windhammer method, secretive Xing character, hell smelting, heavenly god fist, battle robe of gods, cutting the sky finger, physique, ancient holy body, awakening 32%, shock value 7,500, compared with before. Tang Ge's realm in Douluo has indeed been raised from level 69 to level 76. Although this did not reach his psychological expectation of level 79, it was influenced by Sham Shejitu's awakened martial soul avatar after all. So Tang Ge was not disappointed about this. What stunned him was that he had more than 30 shock points left, but only, shock points left. 7,500 points. This is a full reduction of more than 30, and you can get, consecutive draws once for all games. But now, apart from the previous 10 consecutive draws, Tang Ge's hard-earned shock value of more than, is gone. At this moment, his heart is bleeding, the kind that hurts so much. Fortunately, the system has a record of the shock value consumption. So Tang Ge quickly checked the specific process. In the end, he discovered that it was not the sole ability of heaven listening and earth vision that consumed so much of his shock points, but the branches of the giant Myriad tree that had taken root in the map of mountains, rivers and land. As for the time for the shock value to be consumed, it is the time for the branches of the giant Myriad tree to stabilize the world of mountains and rivers. After seeing this, all doubts in Tang Ge's heart were immediately solved. Obviously, if it weren't for the branches of the giant Myriad tree and the support of more than 30 shock points, he might not be able to keep the newly formed world of mountains and rivers this time. So while Tang Ge was depressed, He had to admit it. The shock value of more than 30 is really a waste of money. If he was allowed to choose again, he would probably do the same. After all, if the shock value is gone, you can still earn more. If the world of mountains and rivers in the map of mountains and rivers has collapsed, if you want to condense it again, you don't know when you will have to wait. But at this moment, when he looked at the branch of the giant Myriad tree in the picture of Shamshiji, Tang Ge faintly found that the branch was not only much greener, but also a little longer than it was at the beginning. This was originally a good thing, but suddenly he felt something bad in his heart. Will it steal my shock value from time to time in the future? Muttering to himself, Tang Ge quickly took more than 1,000 caddies of water and put it into the world of mountains and rivers. The power of mountains and rivers operates automatically, quickly decomposing this 1,000 jin of source into the purest source. The spiritual power of the entire world of mountains and rivers suddenly increased a lot. Even the branches of the giant Mu sacred tree shook happily, and began to continuously absorb the spiritual power in the air. Seeing this scene, Tang Ge couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Just don't be picky. Immediately, he took another 1,000 caddies of the source, mixed with some top-quality spirit stones and put them into the world of mountains and rivers. Feeling the increasingly rich aura in the world of mountains and rivers, Tang Ge was immediately extremely satisfied. And he already planned in his heart that when he turned around, he would move to Ubozis and fire Lianga Ei together with the surrounding elixir into the world of mountains and rivers, and catch some soul beasts to go in. Just as he was thinking, Tang Ge seemed to have noticed something, and suddenly looked up at the top of the cliff call out. There was a whistling sound. A figure with a fragrant wind flew down at an extremely fast speed, and landed more than 2 meters away from Tang Ge in the blink of an eye. It was Jin Ringsu. When she saw Tang Ge, the heart she had been holding was relieved immediately, and a look of surprise appeared on her pretty face. How did you know I was here? Tang Ge asked in surprise. Jin Ringsu didn't answer immediately, but walked up to Tang Ge, squatted down gently, put her hands on Tang Ge's body, and checked his body with soul power to see if he was injured. Tang Ge smiled and didn't stop, letting the other party check. And Jin Ringsu withdrew her little hand after confirming that Tang Ge was really fine. She sat in Tang Ge's arms regardless of her image, stopped the other's neck, and spoke softly. I was very worried after you left, so I went to the entrance of the village, planning to wait for a while, and if you don't come back, I will go to the Star Dao forest to find you. After all, there are powerful soul beasts suitable for you. But then I felt a powerful presence here, coupled with a vaguely familiar but non-hostile feeling of being spied on. I guessed it was you, so I came. Having said this, Jin Ringsu's voice suddenly stopped, and then she put her pretty face in front of Tang Ge. Looking at the face in front of her that was deeply imprinted in her mind, she couldn't help raising the corners of her mouth, and said softly, "Can you tell me what level you are now?" Of course it's fine, I'm now. Facing the faint fragrance that kept coming from Jin Ringsu's body, Tang Ge seemed to have lost all resistance, so he wanted to show his current state. But before he finished speaking, a finger was suddenly printed on his lips, blocking what he wanted to say next. At the same time, Jin Ringsu's voice came from beside her ear. Forget it, I don't want to know any more, I can't beat you anyway. What he wanted to say was blocked again, and Tang Ge almost lost his temper. Looking at the playful Jin Ringsu at the moment, he couldn't laugh or cry. Miss, I know you can't beat me, but I just want to earn some shock points, so can you let me finish the forced pretend and then stop me? However, Tang Ge didn't bother to continue entangled in this, but while feeling the warm and soft body in his arms, he said, "Next, I'm going to the extreme north to deal with some things, you have to go with me." Originally, he thought that Jin Ringsu would agree. But as soon as the question was asked, the other party shook his head directly. "No, actually I came out this time mainly to see you one last time. And then I have to go back to the Hall of Spirits to complete an inheritance. This inheritance will last for a long time. I don't know if I will have a chance to come out alive, so I don't want to have any regrets in my heart. Tang Ge, if I really disappear one day, I hope you can always remember me." Having said that, Jin Ringsu immediately looked at Tang Ge with eyes full of expectation. Tang Ge frowned first, and then relaxed it again. He couldn't help reaching out to caress the other's pretty face, smiled lightly and said in a firm tone, "Don't worry, with me here, any inheritance will hurt you. So just close your eyes and I'll give you something." Jin Ringsu didn't doubt it, and closed her eyes obediently. Then I saw Tang Ge raised his hand and stretched out a finger to lightly tap on the center of her eyebrows, and a wave of soul power poured directly into the other's mind. End of this chapter. Chapter 314 Teaching the Dharma, Give Dan, Tell My Heart. As early as in the world of Shrouding the Sky, Tang Ge's soul had been washed by Dao Xianyan, and he had become extremely powerful. After that, he devoured the soul fragments of the dark Devilga tiger, and he even condensed his own soul into substance. What's more, there are 2 bonuses for 10-year soul rings. Therefore, Tang Ge can now use the power of the soul to transmit the means of supernatural powers and exercises he has mastered to outsiders. He is using this ability on Jinriksu now. Because when he heard from Jinriksu that the other party was going back to Wuhan Hall to accept the inheritance, Tang Ge guessed that this inheritance must be Qianjia's Angel 9 tests. If you can complete the 9 trials of angels, the opponent will directly transform into God. But since it is the inheritance of the gods, it is naturally impossible to be so simple. Even Jinriksu, who possesses the seraph of the martial soul, even if the attribute is the most suitable for the inheritance of the angel, dare not say that she can succeed 100%. That's why Jinriksu said that just now. If it was put in the past, Tang Ge would naturally not care. But now, Jinriksu has handed over her body and heart to him. How can he tolerate the danger of the other party in the inheritance? Therefore, considering the compatibility of attributes, Tang Ge decided without any hesitation to pass on the battle robe of the gods that he had mastered to Jinriksu. After Jinriksu closed her eyes obediently, as soon as he pointed to the center of the opponent's brow, a soul force that contained the skills of the battle robes of the gods rushed into the opponent's mind. The sudden soul power frightened Jinriksu's body, and she couldn't help but want to protect herself. But immediately next to her ear came Tang Ge's voice. Don't resist, let go of your mind and concentrate on absorbing this magical power I passed on to you. Hearing this familiar voice, Jinriksu immediately relaxed again. Then according to Tang Ge's reminder, her consciousness sank into her mind, and she began to concentrate on absorbing the information about the god's battle robe contained in the soul power pouring into her mind. And outside, Tang Ge also breathed a sigh of relief after seeing Jinriksu enter the state in peace. He knew that the other party was a member of 1,000 families, and he had already begun to integrate the 6 soul bones of the angelic costume passed down by the family early on. These 6 soul bones are all soul bones bestowed by gods, and their lifespans are all 99,999 years old. Even though they are still in a sealed state, if Jinriksu really wants to resist, Tang Ge may not be able to invade the opponent's mind with soul power. Of course, it was precisely because of the God-given soul bone that Jinriksu was able to withstand Tang Ge's method of soul inheritance. As for the 3 daughters Ning Rongrong, Zhu Huqing and Lin Yuchen, they probably won't be able to enjoy such treatment in a short time. Thinking this way, seeing that it would take some time for Jinriksu to fully integrate and absorb the skills of Battle of the Gods, Tang Ge hugged her and gently placed her on the ground aside. And he took this opportunity to start recovering the soul power in his body that was almost exhausted before. When Jinriksu's consciousness gradually returned, she just felt like she had a dream before. And she never thought that there would be such a strange soul ability in the world. It shouldn't be described as a soul skill, but a divine skill. Because this kind of magical skill that is so powerful that it only needs soul power to drive does not need a soul ring at all, it exists completely independently. For a moment, Jinriksu involuntarily used this magical skill that she had just mastered. Accompanied by the trembling of the space, under the cover of an incomparably rich sacred aura, Jinriksu, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground at this moment, had an extra layer of luxurious golden battle robe. The golden battle robe was draped over her body, which made her temperament continuously elevate, and even her cold expression seemed to be covered with a veil and became blurred. The sound of the gods chanting faintly resounded around them, causing the soul to sink, and all the darkness became invisible. Tang Ge, who was recovering his soul power not far away, was startled suddenly and opened his eyes. When he saw Jinriksu, who was wearing the battle robe of the gods at this moment, his eyes lit up immediately, and he couldn't help but praise in his heart. Don't say it yet. The battle robes of the gods really vary from person to person. If Tang Ge displayed a domineering and unparalleled temperament, then what Jinriksu displayed after using it was cold and noble. If she cooperates with the Wuhan Seraphim to fully stimulate the divine light attribute, she will really feel like a living angel. Thinking of this, Tang Ge smiled lightly. and with a wave of his hand, more than 100 yin-yang flying swords condensed in midair. He spoke at the same time. Zuir, look at this sword. As soon as the words fell, the hundreds of yin-yang flying swords whizzed and turned into shadows of yin and yang, and instantly swooped down from the sky, stabbing at Jinriksu, who was covered in the battle robes of the gods. Jinriksu was still sitting cross-legged on the ground. She did not dodge. At the moment when the hundreds of yin-yang flying swords swooped down and pierced her body, the battle robes of the gods suddenly burst into dazzling golden light. Accompanied by the sound of the gods singing, Jinriksu seemed to be enveloped by an invisible force. Under the attack of more than 100 yin-yang flying swords, not only did she not suffer any harm, but she also looked at Tang Ge with a bright smile. After a while, all the yin-yang flying swords lost their soul power and dissipated one after another. Jinriksu also took off the battle robes of the gods covering her body, got up and came to Tang Ge's side, and sat in the other's arms again. Feeling Jinriksu's soft and tender body, Tang Ge couldn't help but look at her with a smile on his face. Is this supernatural power still useful? I can feel that it matches the attributes of my martial soul very well. With its assistance, I will be able to successfully obtain the inheritance when I go back this time. Jinriksu nodded. And she didn't ask too much where the supernatural power came from, and why the other party had such a means of inheriting the supernatural power, because she knew that if the other party should tell her, she would tell her. So this is one of the things Tang Ge likes about Jinriksu. Immediately, he took out a small porcelain bottle from the system space, handed it to the other party, and said, in addition, there are 2 pills in this bottle called Douluo Continent, which are very helpful for the condensing of spiritual power. Remember to take them before you go back to start the inheritance. Maybe in addition to improving your spiritual power, it can also improve the quality of your martial soul. All in all, Wuhan is a transformation from illusion to reality, approaching spiritual power. So the Douluo Great Pill, which is used to improve mental power, is naturally also useful to it. But now Tang Ge's soul has been condensed into substance. The Douluo Great Pill is miraculous, but just like the 9-aperture golden pill he got back then, it has not helped him much. On the contrary, if Jinriksu takes it, the improvement she can get is even greater. In this regard, Jinriksu did not refuse, and put away the porcelain vase containing the 2 Douluo Great Pills. Then her pair of beautiful eyes fell on Tang Ge's body again, as if she wanted to engrave him deeply in her mind. The shadow of the other party could be reflected in her beautiful eyes. Immediately, before Tang Ge could react, accompanied by the sound of stabbing, the clothes were broken, an unobstructed delicate body appeared in his arms. At the same time, a gentle voice came from Tang Ge's ears. The sky's the cover, the earth is the bed, and I will tell you my heart. End of this chapter. Chapter 315. The Land of the Extreme North, Deaf and Bright Ship. In the Douluo Continent, there are the Heaven Dao Empire and the Star Luo Empire. The Heaven Dao Empire is in the north, the Star Luo Empire is in the south, and the Spirit Hall, which is the third and strongest force, is located in the Spirit City between the 2 empires. In addition, there are also sects outside the 3 major factions, such as the Clear Sky School and the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, as well as the Star Dao Forest and the Sunset Forest, where a large number of soul beasts live. But further to the north of the Heaven Dao Empire, it will become more and more desolate, and the temperature will be lower and lower. And there are fewer and fewer soul masters and soul beasts. In the end, it is the extreme northern land that even titled Douluo would not want to step into. There, people are rare, the environment is harsh, and there are not many soul beasts, but the fact that there are not many soul beasts does not mean that there are no soul beasts. On the contrary, all the soul beasts living in the extreme north are extremely powerful. Not to mention 10,000-year soul beasts, even 10-year soul beasts exist. This is also the reason why titled Douluo is unwilling to go. But today, at the edge of the extreme northern land, which is located in the northern part of the Heaven Dao Empire and has been shrouded in ice and snow all year round, a figure is facing the wind and snow from far to near. Soon, his figure was completely revealed. This person is Tang Ge. Since they went crazy with Jinriksu under the cliff that day, the 2 of them only stayed in Holy Soul Village for 3 days before saying goodbye to old Grandpa Jack and leaving. On the way, Jinriksu turned back to Wuhan City. But Tang Ge went all the way north, directly across the entire Heaven Dao Empire, and arrived at the extreme north in just over 2 days at an extremely fast speed. Woohoo! All around, The biting cold wind breathed and made a sound like howling ghosts and wolves, which made people break out in cold sweat. The white snow swaying under the cold wind covered the sky even more. Looking around, it was all white, and there was no scene more than 10 meters away. Faced with such an extreme environment, even if the Soul Master came, he might not be able to resist it. But Tang Ge was still wearing a blue single-layer gown, not affected by the ultra-low temperature around him at all, and a layer of divine light enveloped his whole body, blocking the biting cold wind that kept coming. And he still has a leisurely and elegant mood to appreciate the rare snow scene in front of him, have to say. Putting aside the extremely harsh environment and the dangers that may be encountered at any time, the scenery of this extreme north is still very beautiful. If it was placed in the previous life, this place would definitely be developed into a scenic spot where tickets are extremely expensive. Thinking of this, Tang Ge smiled lightly, and walked forward slowly. But not too far. Accompanied by a cry of, a huge snow-white figure suddenly emerged from a snowy slope, and rushed towards Tang Ge with a thump, thud, thump on all fours. At the same time, there was also a powerful and fierce aura emanating from this huge figure. It's just that facing this sudden attack, Tang Ge seemed to have expected it. After stopping, he stretched out his hand gently, and a wave of soul power gushed out of his body and condensed into a larger palm of soul power. And the palm of this soul power just happened to be on the head of the huge figure that had just rushed over. As a result, Tang Ge still stood where he was. However, the huge figure that had rushed over was counter-shocked by its own impact force, and its entire body rolled out backwards like a snowball. It wasn't until more than 10 meters away that the huge figure stopped after leaving deep snow marks on the snow with its sharp claws on its limbs. It was also at this time that its appearance was fully revealed in the wind and snow. It was a bear-like soul beast with snow-white hair all over its body. Tang Ge reviewed the lack of understanding of this extreme northern land in his previous life memory, and immediately confirmed that the bear-like soul beast in front of him was a soul beast of the ice bear family. And the ice bear family seems to have a 10-year-old ice bear king. At the same time, in the extreme north, the ice bears were also the main race of spirit beasts. At this moment, the ice bear who was just rolled out by Tang Ge's shock didn't seem to expect that the strange human being who suddenly appeared here was so powerful. After barely waking up from the dizziness, it didn't attack again, but stared at Tang Ge with vigilant eyes, and let out a low growl of woo. Did not attack again. Seeing this, Tang Ge shook his head without any interest. It's just a 10,000-year soul beast. So he just used his martial soul ability a little bit, and before the ice bear could react, he moved the opponent 100 meters away. Then, Tang Ge continued to walk deep into the extreme north. Because he learned from the remnant soul of the dark demon evil tiger that his target evil soul master is hidden deep in the extreme north, and the other party seems to be still paying attention to the ancestral land of the Blue Lightning Overlord clan. That's right. As one of the last 3 sects, the Blue Lightning Overlord sect was born in this extreme north. It is rumored that there is still a real dragon in the ancestral land of the Blue Lightning Overlord sect in this extreme north. Could it be that the purpose of those evil soul masters is this true dragon? Tang Ge thought to himself. But he was not in a hurry. After all, the group of evil soul masters were in this extreme north, and they couldn't escape no matter what. In contrast, in the extreme north, there are still a few soul beasts with a soul age of far more than 10 years, which makes Tang Ge very interested. It happens that the world of mountains and rivers is empty, and it would be great if these soul beasts can be captured. Thinking to himself, Tang Ge was too slow, so he simply waved and took out a treasure. Peerless Pure Yang treasure. Deaf and bright ship. This is exactly one of the treasures drawn by Tang Ge in the previous 10 consecutive draws. Although it was rated as a top-notch treasure in a certain world, its quality is no less than a divine weapon in this world of Douluo. The key is that it is still a treasure of flying. It just so happens that this deaf and light ship is also a pure Yang attribute, and it happens to be able to drive away the cold. Soon, Tang Ge finished refining the deaf and bright ship. When his eyes fell on the miniature boat in his hand, a smile could not help showing at the corner of his mouth, and then he uttered a word lightly. Rise, hum. Accompanied by the release of the surging pure Yang power, the miniature boat that was originally only the size of a fist in Singer Tang's heart suddenly rushed into the air. Then it turned into a huge ship with a length of, meters and a width of tens of meters in the blink of an eye. The giant ship has no oars, but with the help of the formation, it only needs to invest enough spiritual stones, Not only can it fly in the air, but it can also form a protective shield formed by the condensed power of pure yang. And what Tang Ge quietly does not lack is Lingxi. So when he put several top-quality spirit stones into the formation groove of the giant ship with a single thought, the formation was activated immediately, and the meter giant ship burst out with dazzling light this moment. The deaf and bright ship is so powerful that it floats in the air like a ball of fierce flames, instantly transpiring the surrounding heavy snow into bursts of white mist. Immediately Tang Ge stepped up and landed on the deck of the deaf and bright ship. When he commanded the deaf and light ship to float and fly towards the depths of the extreme north, its rich pure yang power was extremely dazzling in this cold extreme north, and immediately alarmed all the nearby soul beasts. End of this chapter. Chapter 316 Human, you are not welcome here. Deaf and light ship, a treasure of pure yang. After Tang Ge activated all the formations on it, as soon as it flew up, its strong pure yang power began to vent to the surroundings continuously. But after a short while, a white tail was dragged out behind the deaf and light ship. These white tail inflammations are all fog formed by the transpiration of heavy snow. At the same time, after the breath of deaf and light ship passed down, a large number of soul beasts were alarmed on the ground more than 100 meters away from it. There are snow tigers, snow leopards, and more ice bears. These soul beasts, at least thousands of years old, smelled the breath of human beings, and they roared angrily, directly breaking the tranquility of the extreme north. But if they can grow a pair of flying wings, they will not stay on the ground and howl. The altitude of, meters directly made these soul beasts unable to catch up with the deaf and light ship, and could only desperately chase the white tail left by the deaf and light ship when it flew soon. On the snow-capped snowfield in the extreme north, accompanied by the sound of dong dong dong, another road of snow and fog that continues to spread rapidly into the distance is formed. In the snow fog, countless soul beasts roared and rushed forward. Occasionally, one or two titan snow demons with a height of more than 10 meters can be seen. Their strength has reached the level of 10,000 years, and the murderous intent emanating from them makes other spirit beasts stay away. However, these two titan snow demons did not attack other soul beasts, but continued to gather their soul power to turn the surrounding white snow into snowballs, and threw them fiercely towards the deaf and light ship high in the sky. Boom, 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 boom. All of a sudden, countless snowballs containing soul power hit the deaf and light ship one after another, stirring up formation ripples. But that's about it. Guarded by formations and supported by top-grade spirit stones, the deaf and bright ship still carried Tang Ge forward steadily. The snowballs that kept flying were quickly transpired by the pure yang power emanating from around the giant ship, and immediately turned into white mist and joined the white tail inflammation behind the ship. As for the flying soul beasts that appeared in the sky from time to time, Tang Ge waved them from a distance and threw them 100 meters away. But later, when Tang Ge collected a, year-old flying soul beast into the Shamshiji map, he suddenly found that the world of the Shamshiji map was a little more stable. Although this change was not obvious, it still made Tang Ge's eyes shine. Is it because of the emergence of living species? Thinking of this, Tang Ge immediately changed his previous indifference, and began to temporarily transform the world of mountains and rivers on the deaf and bright ship. Because the world of mountains and rivers at this time is not too big, it is relatively simple to transform. First of all, in the most central place, he directly created a Buzhao mountain similar to the mythical world. The branches of the giant Myriad tree took root on the top of Buzhao mountain. Then, with Buzhao mountain as the center, the east, west, north, south, and north were transformed into oceans, deserts, ice and snow, and grasslands by Tang Ge. In addition to the oceans, mountains rose one after another in deserts, snow and grasslands, forming valleys and basins everywhere. Moreover, Buzhao mountain and the four major areas were banned by Tang Ge's divine lines. Without Tang Ge's consent, no living beings could leave their areas. Until this moment, the world of mountains and rivers did not look like a world. But the spiritual power is still much worse. So Tang Ge gritted his teeth again, and directly took out a source of, Jin from the system space and divided it into 5 parts, which were placed under Buzhao mountain and 4 major regions. As the, Jin source began to be refined to release pure aura, the entire peaceful world of mountains and rivers suddenly began to be full of turmoil. Not a moment. It was bursts of spiritual energy raining down from the sky and falling on the ground. The aura in the world of mountains and rivers has increased countless times at once. Tang Ge experienced the environment in the world of mountains and rivers, and immediately couldn't help feeling the environment transformed by the source and the world of shading the sky. I'm afraid that the 10-year-old soul beast will not want to leave after living in it. Immediately after he temporarily suspended the transformation of the Shamshiji map, he directly displayed another magical power giant spirit Mahamudra that he had drawn before a time. Standing on the Dafan Guangming boat, Tang Ge fished it casually as if he was fishing, and he caught a soul beast chasing after him and threw it into the world of mountains and rivers. And these soul beasts are all 10,000-year level. Even because the aura of the ice and snow domain in the world of mountains and rivers is much higher and richer than the aura of the extreme north, and it is all in an ice and snow environment. Even if they were caught and moved to a new place, these 10,000-year spirit beasts didn't notice at all. And after discovering that the air is full of rich spiritual energy that is extremely helpful to their cultivation, they didn't care about human beings, so they immediately dispersed and started to seize their own territory. Isn't it delicious to find a nest to sleep in? Seeing this scene, Tang Ge was instantly satisfied. He even thought in his heart that after leaving the extreme north, he would catch a hostile soul master and enter the world of mountains and rivers to experience the hospitality of these 10,000-year soul beasts. In this way, next Tang Ge went deep into the extreme north, and at the same time selected a suitable 10,000-year soul beast from the chasing soul beasts and brought them into the world of mountains and rivers. But just as he was doing this, the huge commotion caused by his appearance also alarmed the owner of this cold place. Unconsciously, the cold wind that was originally on the snowfield in the extreme north suddenly turned into a strong wind, and the white snow that swept across the ground rolled up and turned into an ice tornado. The temperature dropped even more sharply, and the snow that fell from the sky began to condense and become ice masses. A breath of cold death approached faintly. The soul beasts that turned into mist on the snowfield seemed to sense some terrible existence, and the bodies that were chasing the Dafan light ship suddenly stopped, and then they all shivered and crawled on the ground. Tang Ge also noticed it, and immediately controlled the treasure ship to stop. He raised his head and looked in the direction where the cold death breath appeared, not afraid, but a smile of anticipation on his face. Finally coming, Su felt that Tang Ge was in the same mood of anticipation. In the distance, amidst the white snow in the sky, a figure that almost merged with the white snow suddenly appeared, and walked through the void to a place 100 meters away from Tang Ge in the blink of an eye. It wasn't until this moment that Tang Ge saw the true appearance of the visitor. This is a mysterious woman with a human appearance, wearing a long white dress, and her hair is also white, hanging from the back of her head to her heels. She has a flawless face and ethereal sky blue eyes. But both her face and her eyes were very cold, with a feeling of repelling others thousands of miles away. "You are the master of this snowfield, Snow Emperor?" Tang Ge asked suddenly. Facing the inquiry of the human being in front of him, the cold and lonely face of the white-haired woman who arrived finally showed a slight fluctuation. But she didn't answer, but said coldly, "Human, you are not welcome here." End of this chapter. Period. Chapter 317. I'm pure, don't want to kill. Human, you are not welcome here. The white-haired woman stared at Tang Ge and made a cold voice. But Tang Ge smiled lightly after hearing this. "No. You welcome me." After speaking, in front of the white-haired woman, he waved a 10,000-year soul beast into the world of mountains and rivers. Boom. This kind of behavior is completely provocative by Chiguaguo, and the white-haired woman who was originally uncertain about Tang Ge's strength was suddenly irritated. With the release of the terrifying aura, a strong murderous intent suddenly enveloped Tang Ge. The heavy snow that was raging under the strong wind suddenly froze in the sky. Immediately afterwards, within a radius of several hundred meters, there was no snowflake left at all. The mysterious woman's long hair danced behind her, and the extreme cold force quickly condensed around her when she raised her hand, and gradually turned into a dark blue long sword like ice crystals. The moment the long sword was completely condensed, a cold and heartless voice resounded in the world. "Emperor Sword. Bingji Washuang." Boom. Immediately, the white-haired woman suddenly grasped the long sword tightly and slashed fiercely at Tang Ge, who was 100 meters away. At this moment, the identity of the white-haired woman was clearly revealed. Ruler of the far north. Snow Empress. A humanoid soul beast with over 50 soul ages. Her strength is even more terrifying than the azure bull python in the starred-out Great Forest. But even after knowing the identity of the white-haired woman, Tang Ge did not have the slightest fear. Faced with a Snow Empress, he always gave a powerful blow without reservation. He didn't even put away the deafened light ship, so he raised his hand with a smile and pointed forward lightly, using the sky-cutting finger. As the golden sea of bitterness churned, surging divine power and soul power were immediately stimulated from Tang Ge's fingertips. Hey! The dragons of 5 divine powers condensed in midair, and after making an ear-splitting dragon chant, they entangled with each other like heaven and earth scissors, cutting towards the icy giant sword that had just come down. Rumble. Rumble. In the end, the attacks of the two collided together, and there was an earth-shattering explosion. The aftermath of the shock that was visible to the naked eye rushed towards all directions quickly, lifting the white snow within a radius of 1 kilometer from the ground, revealing the black frozen soil that had been covered for many years. The sky was completely covered by white snow, and the scene in it could not be seen clearly. However, there were soul beasts' mournful roars that kept ringing out. Such a huge movement has almost never happened in the extreme north. All of a sudden, countless soul beasts were alarmed and ran wildly away from the place where the explosion sounded. But amidst the wind and snow, there were 1 small, 2 large, 3 figures rushing towards the explosion site. Not to mention the slender figure flying in the air. The height of the other 2 figures is astonishingly as high as 10 or even nearly 100 meters. Every time they jumped, they traveled hundreds of meters away, and when they fell, they even smashed a deep hole in the ground. At the same time, there was a violent and angry aura emanating from these 2 huge figures, causing all the spirit beasts encountered on the way to be paralyzed in fright. As for the slender figure in the air, if you don't look at it with your eyes, it's like a piece of ice, leaving only pure coldness. Dong 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 dong. Accompanied by waves of ground vibrations, the 3 figures were getting closer and closer to the explosion point. When they finally arrived at the place, there was another bang and explosion, and a figure suddenly flew upside down amidst the heavy snow. Snow Empress, the figure of Xiangxiu who had just arrived suddenly paused, then let out a coquettish cry, and immediately rushed up to meet her. Finally, after the 2 figures came into contact, they retreated tens of meters in mid-air before finally stopping. One of them, with long white hair dancing, was the Ice and Snow Girl Snow Emperor. And the one floating next to her was not a human being, but a miniature scorpion-like spirit beast. This scorpion-like spirit beast is 1.5 meters long, and has 2 colors on its body, one is the color of ice, and the other is emerald green. However, she doesn't look as ferocious as a scorpion, but rather cute. But just like Zunv, this scorpion spirit beast was also surrounded by cold air, and its aura was terrifying. Ice Emperor, I'm fine. Seeing the friend who came suddenly, Zunv shook her head immediately after stabilizing the fluctuation of soul power in her body. And below, with a sound of stomping on the ground, the other 2 huge monsters also stopped. These 2 behemoths are the kings of the 2 great spirit beast races in the extreme north, the Titan Snow Demon King and the Ice Bear King. Their soul ages are all over 10 years old. Among them, the Titan Snow Demon King, who was, meters high, let out an angry roar when he saw that the Snow Emperor was under attack, and rushed directly towards the snow-filled area in front of him. Inside, it smelled of humans. But when Zunu saw this, she couldn't help but stop her. Tai, don't go there. It's a pity that the Titan Snow Demon King's thoughts are all on avenging the Snow Girl at the moment, and coupled with his height, he has already plunged into the white snow with a step. Immediately, I heard the sound of bang, bang and bang inside, as well as bursts of angry and unwilling roars. Not a moment. A huge object flew out sideways, and directly hit the side of the Ice Bear King heavily, which made the Ice Bear King tremble in fright, and avoid it involuntarily. But at this moment, no matter the attention of the Ice Bear King or the eyes of the Snow Emperor and the Scorpion Soul Beast, they all fell on the snow fog that was beginning to dissipate in front. Finally, under the impact of the fiery flames gushing out of a furnace, the covered world was completely clear. A figure much taller than the Titan Snow Demon King gradually appeared. It was Tang Ge who cast the incarnation of the giant spirit god. 5 black, 2 red and 7 spirit rings around his body were moving up and down, releasing dazzling black and red rays of light. Among them, the 2 soul rings with a soul age of more than 10 years released a breath like a god. This is the first time Tang Ge has shown his soul ring in front of the rulers of the extreme north. The result also satisfied Tang Ge. In his mind, the system prompt sounded at the right time. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked the Snow Empress, and gained, shock points, ding dong. Congratulations to the host, you shocked the Ice Empress, and gained, shock points. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked the Titan Snow Demon King and gained, shock points. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked the Ice Bear King and gained, shock points. But in a short time, Tang Ge's original shock value broke through the 15 mark again. For a moment, he couldn't help but look at the four figures more than 100 meters away with a smile on his face. Under the indescribably shocked expressions of the four snow empresses, the rulers of the extreme north, Tang Ge looked up at the sky, and the voice of emotion resounded. I'm innocent. I don't want to kill. Ask for a monthly pass. End of this chapter. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 318, Heaven Listens, Earth Sees, Sword Out. If it's just a black 10,000-year spirit ring, it's fine. Even if Tang Ge's whole body is covered with 6 black soul rings at this moment, Snow Emperor, Ice Emperor and the other 2 10-year-old Soul Beast Kings present will not care. If they come out at random, they are not comparable to the title Douluo in the human world. But now, in front of him, this mysterious human being who had suddenly turned into a height of more than, meters, and the state of soul power he displayed was obviously only a soul sage, but there were actually 2 red soul rings. That is a soul ring that can only be produced by a soul beast that has been at least 10 years old. When did the soul masters in the human world become so terrifying that they have already started to fuse 10-year soul rings at the stage of soul sages? So at this moment, listening to Tang Ge's sighing voice, whether it was the Snow Emperor who had been repelled before, or the Ice Emperor and Ice Bear King who had just arrived, they all suddenly fell silent. As for the Snow Demon King who was still lying on the ground, he buried his head in the snowdrift, not knowing whether it was because of fear or embarrassment. As the rulers of this extreme northern land for thousands of years, they felt great pressure because of a sudden arrival of human beings. After a while, it was Zhu Di who had just fought against Tang Ge and finally spoke again, and said solemnly, humans, Zhu Yuan, have never been in contact with you humans. I don't know why you came here suddenly. Don't worry, I'm not here to hunt soul beasts, but to find some people and get rid of them, Tang Ge replied with a smile. It turned out to be seeking revenge. After listening to Tang Ge's explanation, Zhu Di was slightly relieved. But thinking of the scene where the other party suddenly wiped out the soul beast before, she frowned slightly, but she didn't mention this time, but nodded. If so, I can help you find the person you want to find. Facing the ice and snow girl with a human face in front of him, Tang Ge smiled without saying a word, but glanced at the Ice Empress with admiring eyes. Because he has not yet become a soul, the Ice Empress at this time still maintains the animal body of the Ice Wall Emperor Scorpion. Although it looks small, its small body contains a vast soul power that even the title Douluo can hardly match. If it weren't for the fact that there was already a world of mountains and rivers, Tang Ge really wanted to keep the Ice Wall Emperor Scorpion for Lin Yuchen, the 9th soul ring when she was promoted to title Douluo. As for the Ice Bear King not far away, who is at the level of Snow Emperor's godson, he can't be ranked at all. If Tang Ge's idea is known to the Ice Bear King, he doesn't know whether he should be happy or angry. But the Bingbi Emperor Scorpion felt it. As a soul beast over 20 years old and the Ice Emperor of the extreme north, she didn't want to succumb to humans, but now she found that the other party still wanted to hunt and kill her. This suddenly angered the Ice Wall Emperor Scorpion. She couldn't help making a sharp voice, human, don't go too far, even if you have hunted and killed 2 10-year-old soul beasts, this is the extreme north. If I join forces with Zhu Di, even if we both fall, we can keep you here forever. Really? Hearing the threat from the Bingbi Emperor Scorpion, Tang Ge frowned, and a strange smile appeared on his face. Immediately afterwards, his right hand, which he had been holding tightly, suddenly stretched out. Accompanied by the sudden muffled thunder in the sky, a small 3-inch long sword gradually emerged from the palm of his hand. It is this Huxin sword of the 4 swords of Huxin. With the improvement of his own strength and the awakening degree of the ancient holy body, coupled with the activation of the incarnation of the giant spirit god, Tang Ge can finally show any sword in the Wuhan's Huxin sword for a short time. As one of the 4 swords, Huxin sword represents the ultimate sharpness in the world. As soon as this sword is released, its terrifying sword intent is instantly released. Even if it only comes into contact with a space, there is a tendency to directly tear the space apart. In the extreme north, the already gloomy sky suddenly began to become cloudy. Amidst the howling wind, blue thunderbolts continuously fell from the dark clouds, making a deafening explosion, which frightened all the soul beasts in the extreme north to hide their heads in the snowdrifts, and their bodies trembled. And the three heavenly kings and ice bear closest to Tang Ge were full of horror. This breath. Could it be the legendary artifact? For a moment, the Big B Emperor Scorpion who let go of the harsh words just now couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of spit, and couldn't help but continue the words just now with a trembling voice. Of course, it's not good to fight and kill. We welcome a strong human being like you to be our guest, but in the face of the compromise of the Big B Emperor Scorpion, and the system prompt sounded again in his mind, Tang Ge used the seventh soul skill directly as if he had never heard it. Heaven listens and earth sees. All of a sudden, under the exhaustion of surging soul power, wherever he looked, the entire scene of the extreme northland seemed to be magnified countless times. Ice cave, valley peak. Everything is under Tang Ge's observation. In the end, he seemed to have finally found his goal. The corner of his mouth couldn't help showing a satisfied smile, and then he suddenly raised his outstretched right hand. The 3-inch Huxin sword floating in Tang Singer's heart suddenly trembled slightly, and then rushed into the sky with a swoosh. After flying high into the sky, the 3-inch Huxin sword suddenly exploded and turned into a sky-reaching giant sword that pierced into the sky, and finally fell down under the baptism of the rolling thunder. At this moment, the world trembled. And the Ice Wall Emperor Scorpion, who was under the edge of the Jade Immortal Sword, was so frightened that he directly displayed his strongest domain, the Eternal Frozen Domain, and let out a sharp cry at the same time. Snow Empress, hearing the Ice Emperor's shrill cry, the Snow Emperor also released his domain to Hanshin Zuoyang at the same time. No matter it is the realm of permafrost or to Hanshin Zuoyang, they are all extremely cold realms, and any one of them can form extremely terrifying power when released. But now, these two fields are actually combined to become a more powerful field. Snow Dance Extreme Ice Region. In an instant, the snowflakes within a radius of 1 kilometer turned into ice flakes one after another under the action of the extreme cold force, dancing in the air like sharp blades. In this world of ice skates, a large number of soul beasts were cut into pieces in an instant. But before they fell, they turned into ice lumps with a gushing blood. Only Tang Ge, who was in it, guarded all around with the strongest sword intent, was not affected in the slightest. And he didn't seem to care about the cooperation between Ice Emperor and Snow Emperor from the beginning. His gaze was always on the distance. When he clenched his right hand tightly, sword energy gushed out from his Huxin sword. Click. With a sound of shattering, the combined domain formed by the two 10-year-old soul beasts of Snow Empress and Ice Empress collapsed instantly. The domain was broken, and the two of them fell from mid-air, spitting blood. Is it going to die? For a moment, whether it was the Snow Empress, the Ice Empress, the Titan Blood Demon King, or the Ice Bear King, all of them had expressions of despair on their faces. But in the end, the sword energy released from the Jade Immortal Sword did not slash down, but flew past the heads of the 4 spirit beasts after breaking through the Zuwu Extreme Ice Realm. After a few breaths, a deafening explosion sounded continuously from the depths of the far north. The sky and the earth were connected, and everything turned white in an instant. End of this chapter. Chapter 319 The Mastermind, Clear Sky Hammer? Rumble. Rumble. Even though the place where Huxin's sword key fell was hundreds of miles away from Tang Ge and the others, the deafening explosion sound was still heard very clearly and continuously. The entire snowfield was trembling violently. As for how many soul beasts died in this explosion, no one knows. The 4 soul beasts, Snow Emperor and Ice Emperor, who had just escaped catastrophe, had already been frightened by this Huxin sword summoned by Tang Ge, and they dared not hear it, nor did they dare to have any dissatisfaction. Even if this Huxin sword disappeared after releasing the sword energy, and the death crisis shrouded in his heart gradually receded, they still obediently stayed where they were. It wasn't until the deafening explosions and the thunder in the sky all subsided that the dignified atmosphere was suddenly broken by Tang Ge's voice. He glanced down at the Ice Empress and Snow Empress who were fatally protected by the terrifying hide of the Titan Blood Demon King, and immediately burst out laughing. Don't worry, the sword just now was not aimed at you, so you don't have to be afraid, shit. Can you not be afraid? Just now, Such a terrifying sword flew over our heads, no one would feel that he can continue to live after seeing it. Hearing Tang Ge's comforting words, Bingdi couldn't help cursing inwardly. But she is just a young and cute scorpion, no matter how dissatisfied with this hateful human being in front of her, she can only think about it if she wants to sting him on the ground secretly. At this time, Tang Ge, who had just finished speaking in midair, had taken out the deaf and bright ship again. After he reboarded the ship, he directly invited, "Let's go, you all come with me to solve some enemies that need to be solved, and then it's not too late to talk about the future of you guys." Facing Tang Ge's invitation, none of the three heavenly kings plus a cowardly bear dared to refuse. In the end, Tang Ge, Ice Emperor, and Snow Emperor were carried by the deaf and light ship, while the Titan Blood Demon King and Ice Bear King continued on foot. One person and 4 soul beasts left here directly, heading towards the direction where the sword energy of this Huxin sword fell go. In the extreme north, hundreds of miles deep into the hinterland. The original snow-covered snowfield here has already undergone tremendous changes, and the area for several miles seems to have been transpired by the scorching sun, without even a single drop of snow. On the exposed black frozen soil, from southwest to northeast, there is a huge crack that spreads obliquely and directly outward. The crack is tens of meters wide and more than, meters deep. One can faintly feel the strong sword energy remaining in the cracks, gathering together for a long time, causing the air to continuously vibrate and ripple. In the depths of the cracks, there are unexpectedly a large number of underground buildings, which obviously have existed for a long time. It's just that these underground buildings seem to have been ruthlessly destroyed by terrifying external forces, and they all collapsed into ruins. Occasionally, 1 or 2 broken human corpses can be seen in the ruins suddenly. There was a dragon chant of, and then the ruins on the side near the crack were scattered in all directions under the impact of a huge force. Then a huge figure suddenly rushed out of it, and soared up to appear outside the crack. It was a blue lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex surrounded by lightning and with wings on its back. If there were any family members of the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex here at this moment, they would definitely recognize this dragon as the one that guarded their snowy ancestral land when they saw this blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex. But now, the blue lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex, which was supposed to protect the ancestral land, not only ran here, but also became obviously weaker. It can't show the aura of its 10,000-year soul beast at all. And as soon as it flew out of the crack, the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex was about to flap its wings, trying to escape to the distance. But before it had time to stabilize its huge body, another silver-white meteor rushed out of the crack and hit it fiercely. Now, the dragon's scale was broken, and the dragon's blood spurted out immediately. The intense pain directly caused the blue lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex to let out a painful roar, and the entire huge body suddenly fell from midair, smashing a deep hole on the ground. At the same time, another figure quickly flew out of the crack. And the silver-white meteor that just smashed the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex to the ground also fell into the hands of this figure, and the last thing that appeared was a hammer. Holding a silver-white hammer in his right hand is a middle-aged man with an ordinary face, but it looks very strange, as if it was forcibly pieced together by countless faces. And there was a gloomy and cold aura about him. But at this time, the middle-aged man was obviously injured, and his strange face was slightly pale. And when he saw the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex that was smashed down by him with a hammer, his originally pale face suddenly became ugly. Damn it! I can almost devour this dragon, and then I will have the sole master of the 2 top martial spirits on this continent. But now, everything is ruined. I've worked so hard for so long, but it's all in vain, damn it, really damn it. But at the same time as he was angry, following the sound of the sword energy that suddenly split the ground and destroyed everything he had laid out just now, the middle-aged man couldn't help showing a strong pride on his ferocious face. That sword was far beyond what he had seen in his life, like a blow from a god. If it weren't for his luck, the middle-aged man would definitely know that he would disappear in an instant just like those subordinates in buildings. No. You can't stay here any longer, you have to go. A strong death crisis began to linger in my heart. No matter how unwilling the middle-aged man is, he can only choose to give up his long-term plan and prepare to leave here immediately. As for the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex, if there is a chance, it will not be too late to come again next time. But just as he turned around, the temperature in this empty area that had been completely purified by the snow suddenly dropped sharply, and it became extremely cold in an instant. Frozen, and accompanied by the ethereal voice, Under the drastically changed expression of the middle-aged man, countless invisible chills were quickly gathered together to form a layer of ice prison around him. As if aware of who made the shot, the middle-aged man held a silver hammer in his hand, resisting the urge to swing it down, and spoke in a deep voice. "Ice Emperor, I have no intention of being your enemy, please let me go." "Let you go? Then who let us go?" the ethereal voice sounded again. But this time, there was a bit more embarrassment and killing intent in the voice hum. Accompanied by the vibration of the void, a burst of firelight released by the scorching sun moved from far to near, and appeared above the frozen land across a distance of several miles in the blink of an eye. When the flame subsided, the whole picture was revealed immediately. It is indeed the great Brahma light ship. On the bow deck of Daffin Bright's ship, Tang Ge, Snow Emperor, and Ice Emperor were standing side by side in a row, quietly watching the middle-aged man in the ice prison. Among them, the brown-yellow eyes of the Ice Empress were filled with an undisguised strong killing intent. End of this chapter. Period. Chapter 320. I never listened to nonsense. Looking at the middle-aged man trapped by himself within an ice prison, the Ice Emperor has never had such a strong killing intent towards a human being like now, the kind that completely wants to cut him into pieces. Because she now knew that the powerful human standing next to him really did not come to the extreme north this time to hunt and kill soul beasts to obtain soul rings. The opponent's purpose was simple, to find a group of humans hiding on the snowy field, and then kill them all. In the end, because of such a simple matter, she, Ice Emperor, Snow Emperor, and Titan Blood Demon King, the three kings of the extreme north, and the cowardly Ice Bear King were implicated innocently, and almost died by the terrifying sword just now down. Therefore, the Ice Emperor will hate the middle-aged man in the ice prison. If she didn't know that this hateful human is still useful to the powerful human next to her, she must let the other party know the real fate of offending her Ice Empress. More than 10 meters away, the appearance of Daffin Lightship made the middle-aged man in the ice prison couldn't help but tense up. Especially when he saw the two masters of the extreme north on the bow of the ship, his cheeks twitched, and he faintly felt that it would be difficult for him to get away easily today. And the middle-aged man can see from the eyes of the Ice Emperor that the other party really wants to kill him now. Damn! What happened? Why did this happen? Cursing secretly in his heart, the middle-aged man seemed to have discovered something. His eyes suddenly revealed a touch of doubt, and he looked at another man standing between Bindi and Zudi. The man seemed to be young, and his breath was not obvious. But why should it feel familiar? The middle-aged man couldn't help but frown. Tang Ge, who was watched by the middle-aged man, finally opened his mouth lightly after sweeping his gaze over the silver-white hammer in the middle-aged man's hand. "Clear Sky School, Clear Sky Hammer, what's up? Do you want to remember something?" As soon as these words came out, the middle-aged man's body suddenly trembled violently. His originally gloomy face was suddenly full of disbelief, and he looked at Tang Ge, who was speaking dully. At this moment, the middle-aged man finally saw a lot of similarities between the other party and the beautiful figure that was almost forgotten in his mind. For a moment, the middle-aged man couldn't help but swallowed hard, and said in a trembling voice, I really didn't expect that after such a long time, you are still alive. But to see you alive, I'm really excited. I have so much to say to you." For Tang Ge's appearance, especially after recognizing the other party's identity, the middle-aged man was really shocked. In fact, his shock has been fed back into Tang Ge's system, but he doesn't know, nor does he understand why the other party is still alive. Even now, the opponent can still stand with the two kings of the extreme north, and his status is even higher than the two kings. This made the middle-aged man unbelievable. But at the same time he realized that he must not let the other party know what he had done. So he is going to play the emotional card to save his life? Tang Ge seemed to have expected this. Before the middle-aged man spoke again, he spoke lightly. "Unfortunately, I never listened to nonsense." After speaking, he suddenly raised his palm and slapped the opponent hard. Surging soul power surged out immediately, and condensed into an incomparably huge palm in midair. The giant handprint. In the ice prison, the middle-aged man also did not expect the other party to attack suddenly without even saying a word. As his face changed wildly, he quickly summoned 9 soul rings, 1 yellow, 4 purple, and 4 black, and shouted anxiously, "Son, I am you." The following words failed to come out of the ice prison. Because both the Ice Empress and the Snow Empress suddenly realized that the relationship between this middle-aged man and the powerful humans around him was unusual, and they were afraid that they might hear secrets that they should not have heard. So the moment the middle-aged man spoke, the two of them simultaneously used means to block each other's voice. For a moment, the eyes of the middle-aged man were about to burst, and he couldn't help holding the silver hammer in his hand. He urged his soul ring to slam down all the power on the silver hammer. Rumble. Accompanied by a deafening explosion, the silver hammer and the ice prison collided immediately. But at the moment when the middle-aged man had just destroyed the ice prison, Tang Ge's big handprint of the giant spirit condensed also fell mercilessly, directly pressing down on him and slapping it down heavily. Immediately, as if afraid that the middle-aged man was still alive, Tang Ge pointed out again, releasing a radiant aura. Under the power of the heavenly cutting finger, the earth was torn apart again, and violent vibrations continued to spread in all directions. Facing such a terrifying attack, the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex that fell to the ground before was completely frightened and hid its head, its huge body trembling. Where are these humans coming from? It is terrible. At this moment, not only the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex was frightened. After seeing the fate of the middle-aged man, Bingdi and Zudi secretly reminded themselves that they must be careful and never provoke the powerful humans around them again. As for the Titan Blood Demon King and Ice Bear King who followed, they didn't know whether they got lost or did it on purpose, and they never showed up. Tang Ge didn't care about this at all. His gaze was always on the place where he was bombarded by his giant handprint and sky-cutting finger just now, and he waited quietly. It wasn't until a phantom slowly floated out of the explosion that a smile appeared on Tang Ge's face, and he directly activated the furnace of Helheim. The void vibrated, and a powerful suction force was born out of thin air. The phantom seemed to be aware of the horror he was about to face next, and he couldn't help but let out a shrill howl that shook his soul. Even the Ice Empress and Snow Empress were startled, gathered their soul power in their eyes, and saw this phantom being quickly pulled towards the deafened lightship. Could it be the soul of that human being just now? The hearts of the two were slightly shocked. But then what made their faces change wildly was that an extremely dark furnace appeared above Tang Ge's head, and the phantom that was pulled over was swallowed up as soon as the furnace lid was opened. Immediately, the melting pot directly merged into Tang Ge's body. This human actually swallowed its soul. Seeing this scene, the Ice Emperor, who looked like a little scorpion, was so frightened that he couldn't help curling up his body, and even hid his tail hook under his abdomen. And Zudi also had her throat twitching, making a gulu swallowing sound. Her pretty face was full of fear. Didn't you say that you are innocent and don't want to kill? Why did it become so horrifying as soon as it was killed, that it even swallowed a soul? The rumors about the human world are true. It really is a man's mouth, you deceitful ghost. In the middle, Tang Ge, who had just filled the middle-aged man's soul with the furnace of hell, seemed to have sensed the thoughts of Snow Empress and Ice Empress. So he tried his best to make his face gentle and kind, and said with a smile, "Don't be afraid, I really won't do anything to you." As a result, as soon as these words came out, Ice Empress and Snow Empress became more nervous. What a hypocritical smile. End of this chapter. Chapter 321. Tang Ge was really speechless seeing the two 10-year-old soul beasts who ruled the land, Bingdi and Zudi, showing such a nervous look in front of him. He admits that he is very strong, but he is very handsome. Could it be that Shui can't eliminate your wariness and fear of me? And it seemed that the two soul beasts could no longer relax in a short time. Tang Ge simply didn't bother to explain. He directly said to the snow-white long-haired Snow Emperor, "The private matter is over. How about taking me to your place as a guest? You have already spoken. Can I refuse?" Hearing Tang Ge's request, Zudi's cold eyes showed a trace of resentment, and he nodded and gave a soft hum. As for the Ice Empress beside him, he didn't even dare to have any objections. What's more, all she can think about now is whether the human being next to her will make up her mind next. Seeing this, Tang Ge was very satisfied. Immediately after Zudi pointed in a direction, he directly activated the automatic flight mode of the deafened lightship, turning into a flame and galloping away towards the distance. From the beginning to the end, neither Tang Ge nor Ice Emperor and Snow Emperor looked at the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex not far below. It seems that this blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex, with a soul age of 10,000 years, does not exist at all. Blue lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex feels aggrieved and sad about being ignored. At any rate, it also has a dragon character in its name. Although it cannot be compared with the ancient dragon clan, its 10,000-year cultivation base really exists. Now I didn't expect that my dragon would be reduced to such a point where no one cares about it. It really is a cold world. It's just that just as the deaf and bright ship left, the blue electric Tyrannosaurus lying on the ground and pretending to be dead quickly flew up again with its tail between its legs, flapping its wings and quickly fled towards the distance. Not a moment later, a loud dragon chant full of excitement suddenly sounded on the snowfield. The sound of the dragon's chant was full of the owner's rejoicing that he was still alive, and the joy of watching the enemy disappear before his own eyes. The land of the extreme north is huge, and if you want to go deep into the core in a short time, you must not only overcome the harsh environment and powerful soul beasts, but also have a very fast speed. However, Tang Ge has the deaf and light ship, so it is easy to travel. So on the way to the Snow Emperor's territory, he directly took this opportunity to sit cross-legged on the deck and start refining the soul of the Hell Furnace. With the experience of refining the soul of the Dark Devilga Tiger last time, Tang Ge is completely familiar with this time. When his consciousness sank into the furnace of hell, he didn't bother to listen to the middle-aged man's soul begging for mercy, and directly activated the refining function of the furnace of hell. For a moment, an invisible mill seemed to appear in the furnace of hell. Accompanied by screams, the middle-aged man was instantly crushed and turned into the purest soul power. Immediately, this soul power was absorbed by Tang Ge, making his own soul solidify again. In addition, Tang Ge also learned about the memory of the middle-aged man during his lifetime. Relying on his powerful soul, Tang Ge quickly extracted useful information from these chaotic memories. All in all, the story is bloody. A woman from the Clear Sky School who awakened the Haoshinheimer martial soul fell in love with a man who hid her identity as an evil soul master. And the man got the evil ability to strip the martial soul from others to replace his own martial soul because of some chances. So the real purpose of this man approaching the woman who loves him is for the other party's Clear Sky Hammer Wuhan. As a result, the man successfully obtained the woman's Wuhan Clear Sky Hammer, and at the same time completely exposed his identity as an evil spirit master. And the woman whose cultivation base was abolished because of misjudgment was filled with remorse and wanted to kill herself. But after discovering that she was pregnant, the woman finally found a chance to escape from the evil spirit master man, knowing that the child was innocent. Later she gave birth to a child who was pregnant in October. But due to his own reasons, the remaining child was born with a disability in his legs. And at this time, the evil soul master man found the woman again. But in the end, the woman escaped from the man with her life, and left the infant child at the gate of a village. Then she resolutely led the evil soul master man to other places at the cost of sacrificing her own life. As for the child, the only thing left by the woman to prove his identity was a jade tablet engraved with the word Tang. When things were like this, Tang Ge already understood that he was the child who was thrown at the entrance of the Holy Soul Village when he was still a baby. And the man from the evil soul master and the woman from the Clear Sky School are his parents who have never been masked. The woman is very pitiful. Although Tang Ge's soul comes from another world, she also feels sympathy and pity for her. There are so many men in the world, why did the other party fall in love with such a wolf-hearted man? As for the man, Tang Ge will never admit that he has any relationship with the other party. Even if he came to the extreme north this time to find these evil soul masters, his purpose was not to find the mystery of his own life experience. With the improvement of his strength, coupled with the fact that he was not from this world, Tang Ge didn't care about his background at all. He cares more about his friends and lover at this stage, as well as the old Grandpa Jack who raised him up. In order to prevent Grandpa Jack from being harmed, Tang Ge decided to come to this extreme northern land. As for the middle-aged man who wanted to reveal his relationship with him, he did not hesitate to deal with him. He didn't even pawn the other party's soul, it was completely refined and absorbed. Because only this kind of fate can be worthy of all the evils the other party has done, not to mention. It was because of that middle-aged man that Tang Ge discovered that he had congenital polio just after time traveling, and that was why he was stared at strangely by others. Also because that poor girl was deprived of her martial soul, the Clear Sky Hammer's martial soul wouldn't appear when he awakened at the age of 6. With such a mortal enmity, it was enough for Tang Ge to let the middle-aged man die without pain. Do you still want to meet yourself? Want to eat fart? After straightening out everything in this way, Tang Ge suddenly felt a lot more relaxed. The mystery of his life experience has been solved, the person who should be killed has been killed. And the revenge that should be reported has also been avenged. The next step is to continue to go to the place where you should go, and pretend to be forced. So, after Tang Ge opened his eyes, he stretched and stood up from the deck with a smile on his face. And because he was in a happy mood, he took out 2 top-quality spirit stones and threw them to the Snow Empress and Ice Empress, who were secretly observing him. Seeing something flying towards them, Snow Empress and Ice Empress instinctively wanted to avoid it. But when they felt a surge of energy so strong that even their own soul power was affected, these 2 soul beasts, which were almost 1,000,000 years old together, were shocked immediately. Then they couldn't wait to catch the thing that flew back. End of this chapter. Chapter 322. Willing to enter my country? What Tang Ge threw out were 2 top-quality spirit stones, which are excellent cultivation resources even in the world of cultivating immortals. What's more, it's still in the world of Douluo Continent. So when Ice Empress and Snow Empress felt the energy so strong that even their own soul power was affected from the top-grade spirit stones, they immediately realized that these 2 things were definitely rare treasures. After all, their soul power level has reached an extremely high level, and there are very few things that can affect them. In addition, this strong and bottomless human being in front of him seems to have no hostility towards him. So seeing that the thing was about to fall to the ground, Ice Empress and Snow Empress quickly used their soul power to lift it up and slowly put it in front of them. For a moment, its rich spiritual energy gushed out from the top-grade spirit stone, directly making them 2 soul beasts unable to help but want to be intoxicated by it. The soul power actually started to grow. On the opposite side, Tang Ge couldn't help smiling when he saw the intoxicated look on the faces of these 2 soul beasts holding the best spirit stones. This thing is called a spirit stone, and it is a top-quality cultivation resource that can be used to absorb the energy in it to enhance your own soul power. You must have felt the benefits of it to you. If you follow me, I will not only provide you with this thing, but also more advanced cultivation resources than this. As soon as these words came out, the bodies of Snow Emperor and Ice Emperor who were still intoxicated by the rich aura just now trembled suddenly, and they all came to their senses. They didn't know what they thought of. Looking at Tang Ge and then at the spirit stone in their hands, their eyes were filled with entanglement and a little bit of bewilderment. In the end, it was Zudi who hesitated for a moment, and spoke in a low voice with a blushing face. Human beings, although I am a soul beast, it's okay to have the same appearance as you humans. But the Bingdi is still a soul beast. Even if she agrees, how to meet your needs? So, if we want to obtain this thing called Lingxi in our hands, can we change to a new condition? Of course, if you really don't care, Ice Empress can actually, no. As a result, Tang Ge and Bingdi interrupted loudly at the same moment before Zudi finished speaking. After they looked at each other with a soul beast, the Ice Emperor couldn't see the change of expression because he was a soul beast, but his brown eyes were full of danger. It seemed that if Zudi continued to talk, she would definitely fight desperately with the other party. And Tang Ge also couldn't laugh or cry. He looked at Zudi, who was clearly confused but still said these words, a little speechless, shook his head and smiled wryly. Do you have any wrong understanding of what I just said? I ask you to be with me, not the kind of relationship between a man and a woman among human beings, but to submit you to me. Now you should finally understand, right? Really. When talking to a soul beast that looks like a human, you can't beat around the bush, you have to directly explain your purpose. Otherwise, the other party thinks that he has special hobbies, that he likes to cross species and have some weird things happen to soul beasts. It was terrible. When Zudi finally understood what he said, he was so ashamed that even his neck, which was originally as white as snow, turned red. Tang Ge couldn't help but think to himself. For a while, the atmosphere on the deaf and bright ship, which was still somewhat lively just now, fell into a dull atmosphere again. Fortunately, after another period of time, when even the sky in this extreme north began to darken, the eyes of Snow Empress and Ice Empress, who were just absorbing and digesting the spirit stones in their hands because of shyness, finally became bright again. Among them, Zudi put away the spirit stone, pointed to the misty white line in the distance with her slender fingers, and opened her mouth expectantly. Tang Ge, my territory has arrived. Tang Ge took the initiative to tell Zudi the name, otherwise he would always be called a human being by the other party, which would always sound extremely awkward. Is it coming? Hearing Zudi's words, Tang Ge, who was practicing, couldn't help opening his eyes. Because the deaf and light ship was still moving forward rapidly, when he looked in the direction the other party was pointing at, The hazy white line on the horizon had completely appeared. It turned out to be a huge city completely made of ice and snow, sitting on top of the white snow, spanning tens of miles from east to west. A city of this size, even the two great empires in the human world, can be regarded as the capital. Especially as the deafened light ship approached, the pure yang power released from the giant ship hit the walls of the ice and snow giant city, reflecting dazzling golden rays of light. This is a rare beauty in the extreme north that is about to get dark. Tang Ge couldn't help but be amazed when he saw it, and nodded with a smile. Really pretty good. Hearing Tang Ge's praise, Snow Emperor, who is the owner of Ice and Snow City, was very happy, and a gleam of joy could not help showing on his originally cold and pretty face. But the Ice Empress was extremely jealous. She secretly decided in her heart that when she turned around, she would transform her underground cave to become as beautiful as Snow Emperor's Ice and Snow City. Soon, the deafened light ship came to the sky above the Ice and Snow City. Only then did Tang Ge see the scene in the city clearly. The houses, tiles, flowers and plants inside were all carved out of ice and snow just like the city walls outside. But on the surface of these things, there is no trace of man-made traces, which are completely the uncanny workmanship of nature. Unfortunately, because of Zudi's own personality, in this huge ice and snow city, except for herself, there is no living breath existing. This is the city of Snow Empress alone. And now, there is another man and a jealous little scorpion. After entering the city, because of traveling for a day, Tang Ge did not mention the matter of recovering Snow Emperor and Ice Emperor, but relaxed rarely. After accepting Zudi's hospitality, he went to bed early. And Snow Empress and Ice Empress, the two rulers of the extreme north, got together, and the Titan Snow Demon King who rushed over after licking his face. The three kings began to discuss in a low voice the unknown fate that they and all the soul beasts in the extreme north would face next. As for the Ice Bear King, he has no right to speak and can only obey the arrangement unconditionally. In this way, the night passed quickly. The next day, as the wind and snow broke through the darkness and brightened the sky again, Tang Ge, who had slept comfortably, walked out of the room with a smile. Outside, the first thing that catches the eye is the, meter-tall Titan Snow Demon King, squatting on the ground boredly playing with the surrounding snow. But when it saw Tang Ge, it was immediately frightened and stood up from the ground. The Snow Emperor and the Ice Emperor were also there, and their eyes fell on Tang Ge at the same time. There was hope in their eyes, but more of them were anxiety about the unknown. Seeing this scene, Tang Ge immediately understood why the three kings of the extreme north were standing here. So he stopped talking nonsense, and directly waved his hand to manifest a mountain and river domain, and while slowly ascending into the sky, he displayed a divine power belonging to the Lord of the world. A majestic voice came from Tang Ge's mouth at the same time. Would you like to enter my country? Ask for a monthly pass. End of this chapter. Chapter 323 Strong Enough to Explode. As Tang Ge's majestic voice spread, the entire ice and snow city and the surrounding space suddenly began to distort, as if it was about to be swallowed by an endless abyss. Whether it was the Ice Empress, Snow Empress or the Titan Snow Demon King, their bodies tensed up. What is he going to do? The three soul beasts with a soul age of over 10 years were full of tension. But immediately they seemed to have seen some incredible scene, and suddenly their eyes widened, their expressions became dull and shocked. I saw that after the distortion of the space reached the extreme, there was no dark devouring hole, but the ice and snow city disappeared abruptly in place. Instead, there is an even more empty field of ice and snow. The cold wind was raging, and the rich spiritual energy poured in from all directions like a tide, and quickly enveloped the three kings of the extreme north. Even the Ice Bear King, who was originally hiding outside the ice and snow city, showed his height of more than 10 meters, and was at a loss looking for a place to cover his figure. But with a surge of strong spiritual energy, no matter it was the Ice Bear King or the shocked Ice Empress, Snow Empress and Titan Snow Demon King, they were all shocked. Then, as if they had just escaped from the drowning state, they opened their mouths and breathed desperately for a while. Most of the spiritual energy on this ice and snow plane was almost gathered around the body by the four soul beasts, constantly improving their own soul power. Tang Ge was floating in the air and witnessed this scene. The sudden change in front of him is because he used the manifestation ability of the mountain and river domain to temporarily erode the space where the real ice and snow city is located. That's why the aura in the environment suddenly soared, and made the four spirit beasts absorb it almost crazily. But Tang Ge really underestimated the madness of these four soul beasts after a long drought and rain, and uncontrollably let go of their own gates, just like turning into a bottomless black hole. He watched helplessly as the pure aura fed by him with source stones and top-grade spirit stones dwindled and dwindled so quickly. Even in the end, even the branches of the giant Myriad tree on Buzhao Mountain were affected, and the emerald green leaves that had not been growing for a long time wanted to scream again. So, am I asking for bad luck and pretending to be four foodies? Seeing that the branches of the giant Myriad tree were affected, Tang Ge's face twitched, and he suddenly regretted it. But after thinking about it, he still didn't take back the world of mountains and rivers. Instead, he took out another, source stones with a wave of his hand, and divided them into two areas, Buzhao Mountain and Zuoyuan. Accompanied by the emergence of new and rich spiritual energy, the world of mountains and rivers, which had become unstable due to the large loss of spiritual energy, suddenly improved again. But looking at the four figures below, Tang Ge frowned, and asked silently in his heart. System, can the shock value be converted into aura? Ding dong, the shock value cannot be converted into aura, but it can help the host stabilize and expand the world of mountains and rivers, and accelerate the growth of the branches of the giant Myriad tree, stabilize and expand the world of mountains and rivers? Although Tang Ge was disappointed by the system's answer, he was not surprised. So after thinking about it, he directly decided to reinvest all the shock points he had obtained from the four soul beasts in the world of mountains and rivers. Soon, under the control of the system, as hundreds of thousands of shock points were used up, the world of mountains and rivers suddenly became more stable. And it has expanded slightly outwards on the basis of the original size. Although it is not obvious, Tang Ge, the master, can clearly feel it. And he felt that in this world of mountains and rivers, he was already able to withstand the destructive power of the tidal Douluo or even the peerless Douluo war. Tang Ge felt very satisfied with such a change. In this way, he would not need to release the soul beasts in the future, but directly pull the enemy into the world of mountains and rivers, and wait for the siege of the soul beasts. But looking at the shock value that was close to 50, it fell into trough in an instant, and Tang Ge was really distressed. He could only shake his head with a wry smile, comforting himself. Forget it, doing this can be regarded as using the wool on the sheep, and I will come back when I have the chance in the future. Roar. 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 On the ice field, because of the appearance of the four soul beasts of the Ice Emperor and their frantic devouring of spiritual energy, they finally alarmed the 10,000-year soul beasts that had been taken in before. All of a sudden, bursts of angry roars sounded out one after another. Some 10,000-year soul beasts even ran over to find trouble. Seeing this scene, Tang Ge couldn't help but snorted coldly, as the voice of a god reached the ears of these 10,000-year-old soul beasts, and they were immediately frightened so that they collapsed to the ground again, trembling. And after a while, the four soul beasts over 10 years shrouded in surging aura finally temporarily reached the limit of their physical conditions. When they woke up one after another, they all exuded their own kingly aura. Those 10,000-year-old soul beasts who had just been frightened by Tang Ge's cold snort in the distance felt the four kings' aura again, and their bodies trembled even more. A heavy pungent smell began to permeate the originally cold and clean air. Tang Ge frowned upon hearing this, and couldn't help but wave his hand to transfer the unpleasant air and those 10,000-year-old soul beasts to the corners of the ice and snow field. Then his eyes fell on the four over 10-year-old soul beasts below. With a smile on his face, Tang Ge finally said, "How is it? But are you satisfied with the environment I have provided for you?" Snow Empress and Ice Empress were feeling the changes in their bodies, and found that after absorbing the extremely rich aura just now, their own soul power began to sublimate. Exactly. These four soul beasts over 10 years have discovered that their soul power should no longer be called soul power, but a higher level energy than soul power. They feel that if they can transform all the soul power in their bodies, they will definitely change their nature. It's incredible. Snow Emperor and Ice Emperor looked at each other, and immediately raised their heads to look at Tang Ge floating in midair. Regarding the inquiry made by the mysterious and powerful man in front of him just now, the strongest Zudi was silent for a moment, then nodded and spoke. "There's an energy in this environment that we've never seen before. And I feel like staying here will help us break out of our own shackles. So, if what you said before is serious, I will tell you that I am very satisfied and I would like to stay here." "What Snow Emperor means is what I mean," the Ice Emperor followed. The two kings agreed one after another, and the Titan Snow Demon King and Ice Bear King obeyed unconditionally, and even couldn't wait to carve out their own territory here. In mid-air, isn't Tang Ge's hard work just for the immediate result? So when he saw that these 4 soul beasts, all of which were at least over 100,000 soul age, chose to agree, he didn't suppress his excitement, and immediately burst out laughing. Ha 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 ha, from then on, in this world of mountains and rivers, there will be a large number of 10,000-year-old soul beasts plus 10-year nearly million-year-old soul beasts sitting in town. Tang Ge realized that he was really strong enough to explode. If those human soul masters who have worked so hard all their lives to pursue becoming a titled Douluo knew, would they be so desperate that they collapsed? End of this chapter. Chapter 324. After January, Wuhan City. As the 3 kings of the extreme north, Snow Emperor, Ice Emperor and Titan Snow Demon King, although they have ruled the extreme north for countless years, their strength is already much stronger than the titled Douluo among human beings. Coupled with the many thousands of soul beast subordinates, if they have the ambition to fight for hegemony, they probably won't stay in the snowfield forever. Therefore, for soul beasts that have reached this level, the struggle for hegemony has long been like floating clouds, and their only thoughts are to continuously improve their strength and live longer. Now that a further opportunity can be put in front of Zudi and the others, how can they give up so easily? Not to mention, for this human being who is so strong that there is no limit, the 4 soul beasts did not feel the slightest intention to forcibly enslave themselves from the other party. That's why they really dare to agree. Otherwise, the other party can kill his own ability, so how could he do so many things that are beneficial to him? Tang Ge is not stupid, so he naturally understands this. And he wasn't worried that the 4 spirit beasts of Zudi would rebel against him in the future, because the other party didn't even know that all the lives that entered the Shamshiji map would be stamped with the imprint of the Shan world. Tang Ge didn't want to say more about the effect of the imprint, let alone use it in the future. He only knew that he was in a good mood now, so after laughing, he took back the environment shown in the map of Shamshiji, and directly brought the 4 soul beasts into the world of Shan. After traveling around the world, Zudi and Bingdi realized Tang Ge's power more and more. This human can actually own a world, just like a god. For a moment, the hearts of the 4 soul beasts over 10 years suddenly became hot, and they looked forward to what kind of state they would grow to in the future than in the next month. Tang Ge stayed in the ice and snow city to practice in seclusion. While improving his soul power level, he continued to temper the sea of suffering, and used his divine power to continuously wash the body of the ancient holy body. And the 4 soul beasts including the Snow Emperor followed his instructions and began to gather all the talented soul beasts that were more than 10,000 years old in the extreme north, outside the city of ice and snow. Among them, the Ice Bear King clan and the Titan Snow Demon King clan occupy the largest number. The 2 races were originally hostile, and they would kill each other when they met in the past, but now they are actually gathered together, and they appear to be living in harmony. Counting it down, the number of 10,000-year spirit beasts is as high as more than 100. And this is the result of careful selection. Otherwise, it will definitely be much more than the current number. After all, the entire snowfield is located in the extreme north of the mainland, with a vast area and harsh climate, and no human beings have appeared for many years. It is precisely because of this that unlike the starred out Great Forest, this place is not an area where all soul masters obtain soul rings. After a long period of accumulation, the soul beasts here can grow better. If Tang Ge didn't choose, he would definitely be able to pull up an army of soul beasts. But he didn't want to do this, because spirit beasts were more expensive than many. And the current growth rate of the world of mountains and rivers was not enough to accommodate so many soul beasts. Regarding this, Snow Empress and Ice Empress did not have any objections, and after gathering more than 100 soul beasts, they began to wait quietly soon. January has passed. Tang Ge, who was in retreat, finally finished his training and walked out of the city of ice and snow. Tang Ge, according to your arrangement, we have summoned suitable subordinates. Zudi, who had already been waiting outside, immediately greeted him upon seeing this. Her eyes were filled with anticipation, obviously she couldn't wait to enter that magical world again. Sensing Zudi's mood, Tang Ge couldn't help but smile and nodded. Well, it's time to leave, too. Immediately after he waved his hand, more than 100,000-year-old soul beasts that had gathered together were immediately moved to the world of mountains and rivers before they could understand what was going on. Immediately afterwards, Snow Emperor, Ice Emperor, Titan Snow Demon King and Ice Bear King all disappeared in place. In the end, only Tang Ge was left. When he was about to leave, he glanced at the ice and snow city that was still in place, and after thinking about it, he couldn't help but smile. After all, I've lived there for a month, and I'm really sad to lose it, so I might as well move it away. Then, accompanied by the loud rumbling sound, under the action of a mighty force, the entire ice and snow city was pulled up from the ground. Then, shrouded in the light of the Shamshiji map, this huge city was immediately moved to the ice and snow domain in the world of Shan. Snow Emperor, who had just entered the world of mountains and rivers, witnessed this scene. His beautiful eyes lit up, and he recognized that mysterious human more and more in his heart. After Tang Ge finished the last thing, he didn't stay any longer, and directly drove the Dauphin light ship to fly towards the extreme north. The Heaven Dao Empire and the Star Luo Empire each occupy the north and south of the continent, but there is a huge city between them, which makes both of them extremely fearful. This huge city is called Wuhan City, and it is the holy city of Wuhan Palace. The Pope's palace is located in Wuhan City. However, in the past, outsiders were not allowed to enter Wuhan City at will. This year, because of the All-Continent Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Competition Finals being held here, a large number of foreign Soul Masters suddenly appeared. The whole Wuhan City became extremely lively. Especially after more than a month of competition, as the finals progressed to the end, many powerful Soul Master teams emerged, which once made the onlookers excited. And today, the final champion of the finals will be decided. So in Wuhan City, no matter on the road or at home, or in a hotel with no vacant rooms, everyone's discussion is all about the champion candidate. I heard that there is a team in Hong that has a full lineup of soul sects and a very high winning rate. It seems to be from the Heaven Dao Empire. It's called the Shrek 9 Monsters. What do you mean? They are originally from our Heaven Dao Empire. And you don't even know how strong the 9 Shrek monsters are, and they will definitely win the championship of this finals. TCH, what are you breaking the Shrek 9 monsters? I think it's all luck for them to come this far. Now they still want to take the championship from the Wuhandian Academy team. It's just a fantasy, that's right. It doesn't matter if the 9 Shrek monsters are the entire soul sect lineup. Don't they know that there are 3 soul kings with 10,000-year soul rings in the Wuhandian Academy team? HMPH. If Tang Shen, one of the Shrek 9 monsters, can come, what is a mere soul king? God Tang? Ha, it's ridiculous. There are still people who are so ignorant that they dare to use the word God. I'm afraid they are impatient. In a restaurant on the first floor of a big hotel, when a group of diners were fighting over who is the champion of the finals, in a corner not far from them, a teenager was likely tasting the rum in his hand. However, as one of them mentioned the name Tang Shen, the young man's hand holding the wine glass stopped suddenly, and then a slight smile appeared on his calm face. God Tang? When did I gain such a domineering title? End of this chapter. Chapter 325 Daming who sneaked into the human world. At this time, the young man sitting here was none other than Tang Ge, who had left from the extreme north. Because his private affairs were over, and because he was on the way, he first went back to Holy Soul Village, and then went directly through the Heaven Dao Empire to this Spirit City, which belongs to the Spirit Hall. Now, 2 days have passed since arriving in Wuhan City. Although the Soul Master competition was not over yet, Tang Ge did not join Tang San and the others to rejoin the competition, but used the charm of money to find a luxurious room in this big hotel. After all, with his current strength, he is no longer suitable to participate in the competition. Otherwise, it's not bullying. Of course, even if Tang Ge didn't participate in the competition, he still paid close attention to the competition during the period. I also went to the game side and watched Tang San's game. It can be said that these students performed quite well. But what Tang Ge didn't expect was that he hadn't participated in the competition for more than a month, and there were still people in Wuhan City who remembered him. He even gave him the title of Tang Shen. Really think highly of yourself. After drinking the sweet wine in the glass with a faint smile, Tang Ge got up and left the restaurant, went straight to the top floor and returned to his room. The door is closed. Sitting cross-legged on the soft and comfortable big bed, Tang Ge couldn't help muttering to himself as he recalled the discussions of the diners just now. It should be almost over by now. Immediately, he closed his eyes directly, and after activating the heavenly hearing, earth vision soul skill, his entire consciousness rose rapidly and he only felt a boom tremor, and the scene of the entire Wuhan city was instantly displayed in front of his eyes. However, Because the heaven listening and earth vision is not fully activated, this soul skill is not a big burden on Tang Ge now. As the soul power in his body was slowly passing away, he directly locked his vision on the competition point of the Soul Master competition, followed by bursts of excited discussions. And on the competition stage, the participating Soul Masters who were fighting fiercely. One of them was Tang San, who represented Shrek Academy in the competition, but because it was the finals, Lin Yujin, who had a 10,000-year spirit ring, had replaced Xiao Wu. And their opponents are the Golden Generation players of Wuhandian, and their strength is even more powerful. If you were participating Soul Master from another Soul Master Academy, you would have absolutely no hope of winning against these 7 Soul Master opponents from Wuhandian Academy. But Shrek Academy is different. So as time went by, when the two sides used their own means, it was rare to enter a stalemate. All that's left is to see who still has the whole cards and can stick to the end. Tang Ge was not worried about this situation, because the ending was already doomed when the game started. His eyes began to move away from the competition stage, and he began to observe the situation of the audience around him. Among them was the Pope, who looked similar to Jin Ringsu, and there was the titled Douluo from the Wuhan Palace. The suzerains and patriarchs of the various sect families also came here, waiting for the result of the competition. In this case, the shock value that I just lost just now should be able to increase again. Seeing so many strong men gather at once, and even Tang San's father Tang Hao hidden among the audience, Tang Ge's face suddenly showed an expectant smile. But at this moment, he seemed to have discovered something, and suddenly let out a. Under the soul skill of heaven listening, earth watching, Tang Ge saw all the soul masters in the soul master arena, and he couldn't even hide his own strength. But among them was a middle-aged man who was more than 2 meters tall and as strong as a bull, which immediately attracted his attention. Maybe other people don't think there's anything wrong with this middle-aged man, and the aura on his body is well concealed, making it impossible to see through his soul power level. But in Tang Ge's eyes, the real identity presented by the other party is a vivid dragon. The surging soul power of the soul beast, with a soul age of more than 10 years, is like the sun in the daytime, emitting the hottest light, and it cannot escape from his eyes at all. Isn't this guy the Daming who stayed in the starred-out Great Forest? He actually sneaked into the human world? Tang Ge showed surprise on his face. In the fully enclosed soul beast competition arena, Daming, who had turned into human form, was hiding his aura and sitting among a group of human audiences. Because of his own strength, he wasn't worried that a titled Douluo among humans would see through his true identity. And even if he is seen through, Daming is confident that he will be able to escape unscathed. But the reason why he left the starred-out Great Forest and came to the human world was not to test his concealment ability, but to find Xiao Wu. Because as a 10-year soul beast, when it chooses to transform into a human and recultivate, if its own strength has not reached a certain level, it is very easy to be discovered by the titled Douluo among humans. This is very dangerous for Xiao Wu. What's more, Daming even heard that Miss Xiao Wu had participated in the Soul Master competition among humans, and finally came to this Wuhan city where many human titled Douluo gathered. Especially on the supreme seat that was the only symbol of identity, even Daming could feel a slight threat from the aura of the human woman sitting there. He knew that the other party was the Pope of the Wuhan Temple, and that the other party was also the murderer who killed Miss Xiao Wu's mother. In front of such dangerous human beings, Daming even had an urge to take Xiao Wu away immediately. He was afraid that she would be hurt here. It was only during the period of sneaking into the human world that Daming understood the significance of the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy competition. To each academy, Xiao Wu dared to take part in the final at the risk of her identity being found out. She must be very interested in this final. After Daming saw this, because he was afraid that Miss Xiao Wu would be sad, he had no choice but to give up his plan to take her away. But he also chose to stay here. So from the first day of the finals, Daming never took his eyes off Xiao Wu, for fear that he might accidentally miss the chance to save the opponent. Now that the final championship game is coming to an end, while the fiery atmosphere of the arena has reached its peak, a strong crisis has gradually begun to linger in his heart even. Daming could also feel that during this period, the existence who controlled the Wuhan Hall had at least twice stopped his eyes on Xiao Wu. Maybe Xiao Wu herself didn't notice it. But Daming tensed up all of a sudden. He didn't dare to relax at all. He stared at Xiao Wu, who had been staying in the player area the whole time. His deep eyes were full of worry. Sister Wu, what's so good about the human world? Why do you care so little about your own life? But Miss Xiao, don't worry, as long as I, Ming, am still alive, I will never let anyone hurt you, and I will definitely protect you, Miss Wu. In the end, Ming suddenly clenched his fists, and his face was full of firmness. But he didn't know that in this competition venue, there was another person holding the same thoughts as him, silently hiding his figure and waiting to make a move. End of this chapter. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.